Is it false flag season again?
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, August 9th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination episode 1058.
This is No Agenda.
Ducking the purge and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon... Oh, wait a minute. I'm up in the northern Silicon Valley, the Pacific Northwest. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Yes. The big celebrations. Everything happening in the PNWs.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, happy anniversary, John.
It's crowded.
What, crowded in the house?
No, it's, well, that too, but no, it's everybody's who used to go to San Francisco on vacation, they've all come up to Seattle.
Oh, do they have better homeless people to look at there, or?
Well, they're not so much, they haven't started the pooping thing, I guess. I'm not sure.
the pooping thing. Hey, man, congratulations to you and Mimi.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
Yeah, 30 years. And they never had a fight. It's amazing.
Never. It's weird.
It's just like that spam thing. Never had a fight.
Yeah. Hey, I don't get spam.
Yeah. So what did you do? Did you guys go out to dinner? Did you make dinner? What?
I made a big dinner for pretty much everybody. JC and Jesse and the baby and
everybody's up there.
Kids.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And now, did the kids give you guys a gift for your anniversary, or no? Probably not. What am I thinking?
Of course not.
No. Why would I even think that? Well, I think it's something to be holding, John. 30 years.
I'm glad you feel that way.
In today's society.
Yeah. I think so.
Very good. Very good.
Oh, actually, if we were on a TV show, I'd get a round of applause from the audience.
Yes.
They always put, I've been married for 15 years. We get a big round of applause.
Yes, indeed. Kind of like how everybody was cheering and clapping on the Colbert Show for the Alex Jones purge. Did you see that?
No.
Oh my goodness, it's long, and because he has a skit in there, which we can stop whenever we want, because the skit fell flat. He was doing his Seedman skit, but here's the open.
A lot of his skits are falling flat.
Yeah, although his Jones' voice, I think, is pretty good. Not very good, but it's pretty good, and the cadence.
Yes, he's done it before, and I think we noted that it was good before.
It's good, but the audience didn't think it was as funny, or did they cheer as much as about the actual news itself?
Folks, there was some bad news recently for extreme right-wing conspiracy theorist and bath salt spokesmodel Alex Jones, because it looks like his website InfoWars just lost their war on info.
Woo!
Yesterday...
Woo!
Yep. Yesterday, Apple, Google, Facebook, and Spotify all erased most of the posts and videos on their services from Alex Jones.
Oh, yeah.
So,
hell yeah!
They're gone. They're out of there. So now, if you want to see one of Jones's signature rants, you'll have to be in the next booth at Ruby Tuesdays when he sees a mother breastfeeding. Fun side note, Pinterest also took down their InfoWars page, which is bad news if you were planning an autumn wedding with the theme Gay Frog Chemtrails. So,
okay, that was funny.
Why did this happen now? Alex Jones has been spreading vile conspiracy theories that hurt real people for years. Well, Jones earned this latest scrutiny when he addressed Russia investigation special counsel Robert Mueller on his show, imitated firing gun, and said, "You're going to get it or I'm going to die trying."
So that apparently is the hate speech part that he got banned for. Because I can't find any other example, certainly not in news reports, of the actual hate speech that he propagated. But I guess that's it. Which, it's not very nice, that's for sure.
Okay, that is awful. It's actually pretty close to my message to Mueller. You're going to get him or I'm going to die crying. Without the exposure he normally gets from social media, Jones is making an appeal directly to his viewers.
These are evil, wicked sociopaths that know you have a soul, so they try to punch your buttons all day. But don't forget the financial support. Feed your gladiator.
He's not the only one losing.
I love the feed your gladiator is a great term. So now Colbert's going to go. I'll just play it like 30 seconds because it goes on for 4 minutes and it's not funny.
These platforms. There's a similar struggle happening for my colleague, conspiracy radio broadcaster Tuck Buckford, the host of Brain Fight. Take a look.
Which is why Hotel Transylvania 3 was a false flag by the Canadian Yakuza, the Yamusa, to bottle the laughter of children and use it as a disinfectant to sell to deep state Illuminati with yeast infections.
Okay, that was it.
All right. Listen up, Brain Fight Nation, the Brain Fighters, the Brain Nation, the Skull Meat.
Yeah, so that goes on and on and on. But people are very happy. The scourge has been trounced.
Well, he's milking. Yeah, the way I see it, he's milking it.
Well, let's just go back before we get to him.
I'll bet you that he is making more money now than before.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. But let's just look at what happened, because what's interesting to me is two things. Apple, of all companies, took InfoWars, I think almost every show off of their podcast platform in iTunes and on the podcast app. Pretty much, and after that, they all just kind of went like dominoes with Facebook, with YouTube, with Discus.
Oh, was it Apple that started it?
Yeah, Apple. Yeah, at 3 a.m., apparently, there was a meeting with Eddie Q and Tom Collins, Tim Cook. And that's when it was decided. Actually, it was before 3 a.m. Pacific. It was like, I think it was probably midnight or 1 a.m. According to reports, I don't know anything for sure. They decided, okay, we're taking them off, and then everybody went along with it. All Pinterest, Mailchimp, Discus, everyone except Twitter. So there's two things that are curious to me. One, why did Twitter not participate? And we can explore that in a moment. But Apple. See, Apple, I have no problem understanding why companies that have advertisers want him off their platform. Makes total sense. I mean, it's not ad-friendly, brand-friendly, I think is what it's called. Brand-friendly. So, it's understandable. But Apple doesn't make any money from advertising. I mean, they have their ads in their app store. They have some ads, but not with podcasting, unless they're thinking of doing that, possibly. That could be one reason that they decided. But why? What, they could have, because now you can't get him on the app. And the podcasting app, according to our statistics, is still one of the most used apps, with Outcast being a close number 2, but not that close, but closer than the rest. So you can't even find his shows in the app. Whereas they could have easily just taken him off, not promote him. I don't know if they even were promoting him at this point. So that was curious to me.
Well, they could have ignored the whole thing
easily.
I mean, he's always been pretty much the same guy doing the same material.
This all started, if you go back, with Right Wing Watch, and this is run by a guy named Jared Holt. And he is the one that petitioned all these companies. It's kind of like a Media Matters type outfit with some very specific differences. Media Matters, who go after advertisers, they were initially funded by the Clintons. And Right Wing Watch is not a group by itself. It is a project of the People for the American Way. And this is a very interesting group.
We've talked about them before.
We have.
I don't know what we said, but I do remember the name does definitely ring a bell. It's something we talk about.
Yeah. Well, just consulting the Book of Knowledge gives you enough right there. But it was founded, the People for the American Way, was founded by our friend Norman Lear. So right away you understand this has something to do with media, because Norman Lear has the Hollywood Foundation, where they write scripts for all of your favorite TV shows that include social justice messaging, among others. Former presidents of the People for the American Way include Tony Podesta. That's kind of coincidental. But
that kind of like drops, that kind of takes the air out of the room.
Yeah, now let's look at the board of directors, because that's probably even better. So Norman Lear is the founding chair. We've got Alec Baldwin in here. We've got Jane Lynch, Seth MacFarlane. This is Hollywood. This is Hollywood all the way. And there's a lot of people. Kathleen Turner. I don't know how much these people matter anymore, but this is a Hollywood organization. I look at their 990. They got about $6 million, so they're well funded to go after people. It still doesn't really explain why Apple decided to do this. Moreover, because they allowed as did Google, everyone allowed the app to be in the App Store, which pretty much gives you the exact same content. And so many people went to get the app that shot to number one everywhere. So yeah, it's of course it's being milked, and I'm sure he's doing better than ever. But why? Why would Apple do this under some? And I don't think they even released a statement other than, well, it doesn't fit with the what was the exact terms?
Community standards.
Yeah, something along those ways. Yeah. But really, it's baffling to me. And then to have Twitter not bounce Jones off of the platform, which is, this is going to be the holdout. It's going to be interesting to see as Jack Dorsey fights the social justice warriors of the world. Why did he not do it? Other than
he made
business
some commentary
reasons.
Saying that he's never violated our rules. Why should we kick him off?
Right, but he's not.
In fact, he said specifically that if he does violate our rules, we'll kick him off, but he hasn't done that.
Well, but he's not following the Silicon Valley virtue signaling.
I really, yes, that's exactly what's going on.
And just to make it more... Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm still I didn't know, I don't know why I didn't know this, but I didn't know Apple had triggered the whole mechanism, and everyone follows along.
Cascaded. Cascaded.
Pathetic.
Well, Dorsey did one interview, as far as I know, and it was with Sean Hannity on his radio show. So Jack Dorsey, not going along with the Silicon Valley virtue signaling of Hollywood pressure groups, and appearing on Sean Hannity's show is very interesting. Here, just two quick clips. There wasn't all that much. Here he is about, talking about shadow banning, timelines, etc.
We do rank search, we do rank trends, and we do rank conversations accordingly. That does not affect one's timeline. If you follow someone on Twitter, you're going to see them in your timeline. Now, we do rank the timeline for relevance, so it might take some scrolling to see everything. But you can also turn that ranking off in the settings, so you can see everything in recency order.
I didn't know that. So apparently you can turn off their algo.
Where?
I don't know. He says there's a setting for it, so you can say, just give it to me in reverse chronological order.
I've been going over my settings for various things recently. I've never seen that.
Well, he says it's there. I have not looked because I only got this morning. But he does bring up, I think, something fair. Again, I'm astounded by this. If we're going to start policing platforms, the big promise has been, and also I think anyone who listens to our show has understood the lie of artificial intelligence being able to ferret out hate speech and grab it and identify it and block it and get rid of it. And all we really see is outfits like Facebook hiring thousands of people who now will be the arbiters of truth or hate speech versus regular free speech. And Dorsey admits as much.
What about, and I think this might be something everybody agrees on, let's start with people that are calling for some type of violence of any kind or threatening violence against an individual. I think that would probably be an easy, we're not going to allow that, right?
Yes, that is much easier. Any sort of violent speech, encouragement towards violence, harassment is directly against our terms of service, and we take immediate action on it.
What if somebody, now it gets more nuanced, I wish somebody would just punch Hannity in the face. What do you do then?
Well, we have to, in all these considerations, not to get into specifics, we have to take the context. We have to really understand what the context of the conversation is, and this is extremely hard for an algorithm to do and certainly hard for humans to do. So we make sure that all of our folks understand the cultural context that something is said. Because some cultural contexts allow for some speech that enable some speech that other cultural contexts don't. So as we review cases of reports or blocks or mutes, we have to make sure that we're taking into consideration that context and then acting appropriately. And doing so with warnings, with notices, with a temporary lock of the account until that tweet is reviewed or deleted, and ideally giving them the exact reasons why it violates our.
And you have enough people that would be able to monitor and handle that you won't miss threats?
We'll certainly miss things.
Oh, yeah. There's no way. If you look at what Twitter has 300-400 million people, but if you look at Facebag with its reported 2 billion people, sure. Even if it's a billion, screw it, 500,000. Do you know how many posts that is per day that AI has to go and look at to see if it's hate speech within millions. Context? 100 million, at least. There's no way they will go out of business if they go down this path. It's not sustainable. However, in elitist circles, such as the Anti-Defamation League and USC, the Center for Technology and Society, they're way ahead of the game.
ADL and the University of California at Berkeley's D-Lab have been working to develop a new approach to tackle online hate using the latest methods. The goal of the Online Hate Index is to help tech platforms better understand the growing amount of hate on social media and to use that information to address the problem. By combining artificial intelligence and machine learning with social science, the Online Hate Index will ultimately uncover and identify trends and patterns in hate speech across different platforms. We've just completed our first phase of research, and we found that the machine learning model identified hate speech accurately between 78 and 85% of the time. In the next phase of our project, we will look at specific targeted populations in a more detailed manner. We'll examine content on multiple social media sites, and we'll identify strategies to deploy the model more broadly. While there's still a long way to go with artificial intelligence and machine learning-based solutions, we believe the Online Hate Index will help tech companies better understand the extent of hateful content on their platforms by creating community-based definitions.
Bullshit!
Yeah, good luck with that.
What is the point of the music?
Well, it's a promo reel for how great they are and makes you feel good and makes you feel safe in a warm bath that ADL and USC are on the case with AI and machine learning. Nothing to worry about, citizen. I think they're trying to become a clearinghouse for hate speech detection. Well, that's what they're claiming.
Well, that just brings me to the column I wrote for PC Magazine bitching about this sort of thing, because what you're talking about is the eventuality of more, not less. There's already a bunch of them. More blacklists. The blacklists are used by ISPs and everybody else, and the next thing you know, you can't get any. I tell the story about how my blog was blacklisted left and right because the name of the blog initially, on the title line at the top of was Dvorak Uncensored.
So uncensored, the algos picked up uncensored, like, that can't be good.
And so once I changed it to Dvorak News Blog, even though the big title on the page says Dvorak Uncensored, but it says Dvorak News Blog in the title line, the HTML code, that all went away. So this is the kind of thing we have to deal with. It's ridiculous.
It's also not going to work.
No, it's not going to work.
I think that's, if anything, that's maybe what Jack Dorsey sees is, dude, you can't AI this away. And he's probably having enough problems as is just for, just all the reporting. I mean, I don't see how they can survive this. I think this is really bad for the social networks. Because they're being pushed into a corner. There's already legislation, by the way, in the works. I just got this in this morning from, what's this jamoke's name? Warner? Yeah.
Warner's a dork.
Yeah, so this is the potential policy proposals for regulation of social media and technology firms. Draft policy paper. And here's some highlights that I found.
Well, maybe Apple's just getting ahead of it.
Could be. But what they're asking for is really has nothing to do with hate speech. It's just pure regulation, mandatory location verification, mandatory identity verification, bot labeling. A bot needs to be labeled. And define popular technology as essential facilities. There it is. Essential facilities. They want to regulate. They've been wanting to regulate. We're coming up on the midterm elections. We want to silence people, and this is a great way to do it. But it's not like it's just the elections. I think mainstream media and politicians have wanted to shut down or at least regulate anything they can on the internet for decades. And they're trying to take advantage of it. I don't know if this will ever work or if they'll ever get it passed. But that's certainly what seems to be in the running. I'm still
but he's definitely virtue signaling with it.
Who?
He's a Democrat, and he's telling everybody.
Warren. Of course he is. Yes, of course he is.
We got to stop these Republicans.
Got an NPR report here. Also about, here it is.
Jones says that he is the victim of censorship. So I guess the question is, does he have a point? Or maybe more importantly, will his supporters think he has a point? And what will that mean?
Well, they certainly will, and they're already rushing to embrace that. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, tied himself in knots about the importance of being a free speech platform at Facebook, saying he would even defend Holocaust deniers' rights to spread essentially lies and calumnies. And yet Facebook essentially took this action too once Apple had taken axe. There's just been real pressure from both journalists, from a lawsuit from the parents of the
journalists. Really? Are journalists pressuring for Alex Jones to be gone? Is that who's behind this?
Well, I think what they refer to is that operation you named.
Yeah.
As something to do with journalists, maybe. I mean, maybe Norman Lear is seen as a journalist because he's a publisher.
Iffy at best. Iffy.
I think that's just a broad brush.
Yeah. Let me see what else I had.
I don't think any journalists care that much. And most journalists should do, although I'm not seeing any evidence of this, because journalists should, for example, be all for the Julian Assange situation. They
used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the early days until he turned what looks like a Republican.
Yeah. Whoops. I'm still baffled by Apple. I really am. I do not understand. Could this have been some pressure from on high? From the people in this group? I mean, did Tom Collins get calls from Alec Baldwin and Norman Lear and something like that? Hey, man,
that's exactly what happened.
We're going to cut you off. You're a bad gay. Something like that. There must have been something.
Oh no, it'd be like, you're with us, you pretty much side with us politically, and we got to, there's a lot of action going on in Hollywood. We all got to be together on this thing because this guy, we got midterms coming up. We got to get more Democrats in. You can help us out if you just kill this Jones podcast, and at least for now, they make a big fuss after November. You can put it back up.
What do you think Steve Jobs would have done if whatever happened in the midnight meeting or whatever? Do you think he would have said, "Yeah, take him off completely"?
No.
I can see him saying, "We decided not to promote him, but we feel at Apple free speech is very important, and hate speech is also free speech. Although Steve Jobs don't like it, we won't promote him, but we will not cut him off." I think that's where he would have gone. I hope.
Probably.
Sounds more like him.
Kind of a libertarian at some level.
Yeah.
But he was he was also a big time Democrat. He used to have Clinton over at the House.
Yeah. Barefoot.
But he'd probably be less susceptible to that pressure.
So it's I wish I could say more. I mean, it's things we've discussed everything a million times. Hate speech is still free speech. There's no laws against hate speech. I did find what was the I put a couple definitions in the because the Oxford I was looking for the Oxford Dictionary definition. They don't have one, of course not. U.S. legal hate speech is a communication that carries no meaning other than the expression of hatred for some group, especially in circumstances in which the communication is likely to provoke violence. It is an incitement to hatred primarily against a group of persons defined in terms of race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, religion, and the like. Hate speech can be any form of expression regarded as offensive to racial, ethnic, religious groups and other discrete minorities or to women. But the thing that's interesting is the hate speech is used, but not a single example is given. Certainly not of Alex Jones. Conspiracy theories, yeah, but hate speech, I haven't seen it.
Well, that's a good point. That's, again, the point I made the last show, which is that if you're going to cite a specific reason, you have to cite examples.
Yeah, none of that. All of Sandy Hook, horrible. Yeah, you can deem him horrible, whatever you want. Now, of course, the issue is they come for Jones, and then eventually they'll come for other people, that whoever they don't like. And I think
I think that not that you should brought up the basics, which is the Apple started and these other guys fell in line rather quickly within 12 hours. I think the whole thing was, I think the skids were greased. This group that you're talking about,
yes, right,
the Norman Lear group, probably went to the other groups and said, we hear Apple's going to do this. Would you do this? Would you ban this joker?
Yeah, so they just needed Apple to fall down, right?
Yeah, if somebody like Apple, we understand Apple's going to do it. They're going to pull them out. You're going to have to do that too, because you're going to look foolish if you don't.
Yeah, it sure seemed like everybody had their press releases good to go, didn't it? I mean,
yeah, it was too quick.
It was pretty quick. Yeah, right down to MailChimp and just everybody.
Yeah, bang, 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 and then MailChimp. That MailChimp, what is he doing? He just sends out a newsletter.
Yeah, but
I'm sure MailChimp has got some fascist newsletter producers.
Well, if you remember, they took off Stormfront, who was really the first one to go. Stormfront got banned. You remember this?
Yeah.
So they got kicked off of MailChimp. I understand MailChimp. They're identifiable on their emails. It shows up somewhere. You see, they just don't want to be associated with it. I can understand all of that. I really can. But it's fine by me. I've always said you got to decentralize. If you base your business on YouTube, whether you're a creator and pissed off about being demonetized, or if you're getting kicked off altogether, you bully boo-hoo. You're stupid.
That's the reason we have our own infrastructure. We don't use these outlets.
But I will say that with the podcast,
was he kicked off a Podbean? That's what I'd like to know.
That's a good question. I don't think he uses Podbean. Actually, I think he has his own infrastructure. But if we got kicked off, and it could easily happen, we've talked about Sandy Hook, and we've had all kinds of thoughts. Certainly me. But I don't know. I don't think we're important enough.
Well, there's that. And also, I was reading some tweets, and Jen Briney was all hand-wringing over this thing. Yes. And she could go next. I don't think so.
She has the right thinking, because, if one goes, who's next? What I'm a little more wary of is it just going to be the social networks? I mean, I already see, of course, was it BuzzFeed? They're like, they tried to investigate his boner pills and all of his vitality stuff, and I guess to see if there was anything dangerous in them. And what they did come up with is, well, it's pretty much off the shelf vitamins that you're paying twice the price for. Okay. So they kind of tried that angle. Is he selling something dangerous? But payment processors will be next. And we saw this with WikiLeaks. And, we know who's behind PayPal. We know who runs the show there. And it's been done before. So why wouldn't they go after that? Banks won't give webcam girls bank accounts. I mean, a lot of this has been taking place quietly, and now this is just a much bigger target. But I see this going quite far.
It could, although I don't think it will.
Because?
Well, there's no because I don't think this is much more than a short-term kind of a trick to get people to vote Democrat this November. Once this primary is over, all this stuff just
goes away. Yeah. This is a good one.
You don't start killing your customers. I mean, come on.
I think it's gone too far. I mean, certainly with FaceBag, they've painted themselves into a corner. Yeah, but they've painted themselves into an absolute complete corner. By touting all this AI crap, and now they have to show it, and that means they have to hire people. This is problematic. It's tens of thousands of people you'll need to do this in all these countries. And I mean, of course, they already have some practice. We know that Apple and Facebook and Google are all sucking off China, will do whatever they want and change their indexes and block searches, so they have good practice in it. So it's just flipping a couple switches. They know how to do it. But I don't know. I'm glad we have noagendasocial.com. we
that thing's kicking butt.
Me and Alex Jones. Well,
let's listen to a couple of clips. We don't normally run these clips.
What, you're not hearing this?
Yeah, that's very good.
Oh, come on.
I thought it was almost over.
It was until you started talking over. It's okay. I got a long version at the end of the show.
I got two clips. One is the Alex Jones himself, and the other one's an InfoWars clip where one of the guys, that British kid, is going off on it. Let's play InfoWars MP3.
With a red button saying, quote, live. The top tweet links to an InfoWars story with the headline, Imam, I warned de Blasio about New York City terror. He was too busy bashing Trump. But you saw this.
USA Today. At lunch, I did, yeah, and I also saw the system corrected.
As WikiLeaks tweeted, this is a global antitrust problem. This is cultural imperialism. So no, it's not just a private company. This is a handful of far-left hysterics in San Francisco framing legitimate criticism of mass immigration and Islam as hate speech. This is language policing. This is political censorship. They know InfoWars played a key role in electing Trump. This is punishment for that. And this all happened 3 months before the midterms. This is election meddling. This is elected. They all banned InfoWars within the same 12-hour period. That's big tech collusion.
Yeah, Paul Joseph Watson.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for election meddling. I think
so too. I think he made two interesting points. One, I think election meddling is in play, and I think that's illegal. I'm pretty sure. And the other thing is, he said, well, you can, InfoWars helped elect Trump. Was he even for Trump when this thing began?
Yeah. In fact, he's out there now claiming that Trump never would have gotten all of this traction on Facebook if it wasn't for InfoWars. And I think he has an argument to make there. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He's
okay. Well, now he goes on. Now this is another short clip. This is Alex Jones himself. Complaining about and then teasing. He's also teasing all the way. These guys very talented at what he does.
Rand Paul can be beaten for the Senate race. Look at what his neighbor did. It's everywhere. If I try to list it all, it'd take an hour. They're trying to bully us into submission. So now more than ever, with them all over the news saying deplatform us and lying about what we stand for and filing all these frivolous fake lawsuits that we're getting thrown out, this is the critical battle. Getting Trump in was just the beachhead. Now the real fight for liberty begins. We're entering the season of false flags.
Is it false flag season again? I always miss it.
He goes on and on and on about the false flag season coming up. Yeah, I always miss it.
Yeah. I had everything all good to go. I forgot the season had started. If this had happened to us, we'd be doing exactly the same. We'd be feed your gladiators.
Yeah. It's not going to happen to us. All we do is we're just two guys doing news deconstruction.
Oh, there's a lot of social justice warrior hate out there about us, though.
Well, on what, the Reddit thing?
But people on Twitter and this. There's a core group.
I don't see it so much.
There's a core group. But
they about 10 guys.
They can't do anything. All they do is try and tell people that they're stupid for donating to the show. Well, that doesn't go over very well. Like, okay, fine, whatever. If people want to donate, they will. If they don't, they don't. But their arguments are not very convincing, which is the same. We're Trump butt kissers. That's the whole argument.
Well, the whole argument falls flat because you're a guy who kind of semi-reluctantly by accident kind of was one of the celebrities mentioned as a Trump supporter, even though you weren't fully.
No, I said he could win. I said he could win, and I said it would be great for the show if he did.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah.
Kind of. But you never even got invited. Nobody's acknowledged this. And you even had an in on the Michael Flynn side of things.
Yeah. My invitation to the inauguration kind of evaporated. After Michael Flynn got in trouble, I never heard from anybody again.
No.
Well,
so what are you going to do?
No. So to me, the most interesting thing of this whole spectacle remains why Apple. And the closest I can get is the people for the American way and the influence they have. And for whatever reason, close to billionaire Tim Cook buckled. And I think it goes against Apple's. I mean, how can you have these, here's for the thinkers, here's for the crazy ones, here, how can you have that ad if you're kicking people off your platforms?
You can't.
Exactly.
It's going to hurt the company.
Yeah. I don't know how badly, but I don't think this is.
That's just a cumulative thing. Yeah. Eventually they're going to start misstepping over time. And it builds up, and next thing you know, they're starting to fade. And then
the good news is that Facebook and Twitter and all these social networks and all these platforms, they're not the internet. The internet is always there. You get the internet, you use the internet to get our show, but you're getting it from our servers run by our crack team, of course. Void Zeros for Bemrose and a cast of thousands. Our web pages, I guess we could get kicked off of AWS, but we can, we own the domain names. We put it on a server real quick. It's just for convenience, really, for the show notes and everything else. As long as you have a connection, you can still get to us. And I don't think any of the Sosh Nets help us tremendously. It's great for announcing a new show is up, but
yeah,
that's it. It would definitely dent us, but I mean. This is up to the people themselves. You like being on these social networks, you get what you sign up for. And if you don't like it, go away. I'm not as emotional about it. But what people are emotional about is that this is silencing, they feel, important voices, potentially more than just one, with an election coming up. And I see that. I can understand where the meddling complaint comes from.
Well, I think the FEC should be in.
Yeah, good luck with
Somebody
that.
should bitch to them, the Federal Election Commission.
No one's going to stand up for this. No one. No.
Well, since you brought up AI,
woo!
There's a report that came out on CBS. CBS has this tech reporter. I don't even know. He just rambles. It's a very funny guy. He was on. He's at Black Hat.
That's his Twitter handle, at Black Hat?
No, that's where he is.
Oh, okay. He's at Black Hat. All right.
I think it's going on right now, or DEF CON.
Yeah.
So I want to play a couple of clips that are they're a little long, but they're the kind of thing I think is being fed to the public is they're on AI. This is AI. I wrote it, I titled it Clip of the Day, although I'm not expecting to get that. But to me, it's kind of, and this is the part one.
So artificial intelligence is being used in a number of very creative ways. One research group showed us a technique of hiding malware inside typical applications. When I say an application, I may mean Microsoft Outlook, maybe it's your productivity application, maybe it's a video voice calling application, and it hides in there using AI to fend off typical virus schemes.
Wait a minute. There's AI in Microsoft Outlook? Well, you better tell me where the feeding hole is, because
no, he's what he's saying. And by the way, this is nothing new. He's saying that there's malware that's inserted, which is
I misunderstood. Okay,
it's contaminated. I don't know how you get it in there, but somehow you get a contaminated word.
Macro.
It's been going on for decades.
A macro,
and so you contaminate some known product. And this one, but this new version of this contamination, it has got AI.
Oh, I see.
Somehow.
Oh, magic.
Now true AI requires massive amounts of code.
Yes.
So you're not going to sneak some Trojan or some sort of malware into like anything without it bloating. If it's got AI or supposed AI, which I don't even think works anyway. But okay, let's just listen to what he's got to say here.
Voice calling application, and it hides in there using AI to fend off typical virus scanners, but it's activated using facial recognition technology. So you might sit in front of a computer and nothing happens, but when the target, sits in front of a computer, I suddenly have a wiped computer. Oh. Now, if you think about all of the grassroots or local political organizations that are out making sure that their candidates are heard and that their voices are heard, those organizations don't have a lot of time or money. And being able to target individuals by your face and wipe out computers could demolish a local campaign.
The algo.
Oh, yeah.
The algo.
Yeah, they can. Yes, it happened to me the other day. My computer went, oh, it's Adam. Let's wipe his computer. Sure.
I know. This is so far-fetched, it's ludicrous. But he goes on. Now he's jumped already from AI to smart viruses to somehow facial recognition systems that keep a photo or a group of photos or at least the specs for your face. So when it sees your face, it's now you can wipe the computer. Why couldn't it just wipe the computer anyway before you got to it? If it's a computer that's a target, why wait for you? There's a question that comes to mind is
because it makes for a better story on CBS.
What are you waiting for to wipe the computer? What if you never show up? Yeah, it makes for a better cock and bull story.
Wow, that is really frightening to hear that. Well, also at risk of hacking are critical infrastructures, such as water dams. What did you learn about that?
So IBM security researchers have uncovered a number of exploits. We want to be very careful about not revealing things that are incredibly important to make sure that the vendors of these products are able to patch them first. But the basics are that the software that controls the overflow and the amount of water in a dam or the release of water from a dam, that software could have critical flaws in it and allow attackers to take over the critical infrastructure, the water dam. Now, you may think, what does this have to do with election hacking? If a major disaster like this happens on election day, first responders are immediately deployed. This is a massive distraction that risks life and could also prevent voters from getting to the election booth or getting to the polling booth. Now, this won't affect 300 million people voting, but if you want to target one specific district or one specific type of voters, this is a great way to do that. You instantly prevent certain people from being able to vote.
Well, everything in the world today is interconnected, making it virtually impossible to predict what or where the next hack will be. Is the biggest concern here really the fear of the unknown?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the jargon that is often used is the Internet of Things. But what this really means is your Alexa, your smart fridge, and every piece of, if you think about infrastructure on the back end, valves in water pump stations or electrical stations, all of these are now connected. All of these are able to be chained together. So when I say chained together, I mean what happens in a Facebook type of system or a social media system could impact what happens in Alexa. And if you send what's called a DDoS, that's a distributed denial of service attack.
Yeah, this guy should read Industrial Society and Its Future. And then he could report even better on this.
He's just thought this guy's out of control. He's unhinged.
he's talking kind of shit.
Yeah.
And the
valves, man, the valves are all line.
Yeah, if you want to get a district, just blow up the dam. Okay, this is like French resistance.
Will get in.
French resistance. So, This is insane.
Yeah, no kidding.
Speaking of Internet of Things, we discovered on before the last show, or was it the last show 2 shows ago, that I was having a problem in my own network, which was messing up Skype. Packets were losing, were dropping, and we couldn't really figure it out. And the solution was to turn off IPv6 in my router. And IPv6, a big push behind it, besides running out of IPv4 addresses. And a lot of people don't know what we're talking about, but we basically ran out of addresses for computers just because of the nature of the size of the block that we had to distribute. And so they came up with IPv6, which has I guess billions of possible IP addresses, and you no longer have to use network address translation. It can punch right through, so you don't have to have fake the IP addresses behind your router at home. And this is mainly meant for the Internet of Things. And as we found out from the AT&T forum, people turning this off to fix their connection, the AT&T engineers got all huffy, like, it's important, turn it back on. And I did a little research. It seems there's a huge problem with 2 ISPs, AT&T and Comcast, the bridging from IPv4 to IPv6. And it's messing up, and everyone is blaming their networks. I don't know enough about it, but it seems like the transition from IPv4 to IPv6 is not going very smoothly at all. Witness our own experience with it. So I'm curious to see how this is going to work with the Internet of Things. AT&T is no small player. And, so people have IPv6 on, and then they can't get to half the websites because the AT&T network is not doing the bridging properly from IPv6 to IPv4.
And if they can't do it, who can?
Well, Windows has, since 2013, I think, has a Teredo, and it's also an IPv6, IPv4 bridging solution, which also appears to be a problem, according to people I've spoken with. So this Internet of Things may be a great idea, but it's not really rolling out smoothly. That I don't know why.
The valves at the dam.
People are talking about the MOTU blocks being too big. I really don't know exactly. The networking is religion at some point. But anyway,
like magic.
Seems like AT&T and Comcast are having the biggest problems with it. And so how in the world can we expect the algos to blow up the dam?
When the algorithm starts to sway, opinions on the news today. There's a guy coding in LA to keep us afraid, and Facebook made.
Well, we might as well stick with technology-related news. Again, very disappointed in every single news organization. No one has told me or written or reported on the actual issue here.
It's a heartbreaking discovery for hundreds of families who lost their homes in foreclosure. Wells Fargo is now saying about 625 homeowners were not granted mortgage modifications due to a computer glitch. The issue came to light in a regulatory filing. In about 400 cases, the customers were foreclosed upon. The computer error was fixed in October 2015, but had been going on since April of 2010. Wells Fargo says it has set aside $8 million to compensate those customers affected by the mistake.
And everybody just accepts it. Oh, it was a glitch. It was nothing else but a glitch. And nobody asked what the glitch was. Was it truly a bug in software? Was it a rule that was entered incorrectly? There's so many questions that can be answered just if someone did any work, but we've given up. Journos have given up on
what was the glitch?
I have no idea.
Well, in my opinion, there never was a glitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What do you mean? They just screwed people, got caught, and glitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Wells Fargo has such
Wells
a great
Fargo's
reputation.
notorious.
Yeah, they got such a great reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bank of America is not much better. The Bank of America got involved in foreclosing on. So this is a story we did it on the show.
Yeah, didn't you run into problems with that?
No.
Oh, I thought that was something
it could
else.
happen.
Yeah.
Oh no, we did have a problem.
Your mortgage was sold.
Up here, they had a problem, but we were working with the state attorneys general to try to entrap Bank of America.
There was Bank of America.
Yeah, that was Bank of America, and we're trying to entrap them with, it was a scheme, and the bank pulled out of the state before anything could happen.
Oh, really? Damn, they just closed up shop in the entire state of Washington to get out from whatever was going on?
Well, they were apparently pulling a lot of stunts. But the story that was the most interesting to me, again, Bank of America, was, I think it was in Modesto, some guy who was foreclosed by the Bank of America, and he had to go to court and get lawyers and everything because he didn't even have a loan with the Bank of America. He had no connection to the Bank of America.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, one more quickie then. As long as we're bitching and moaning about Silicon Valley and technology. I've had a problem with this HTTPS encrypt everywhere from day one, not because I don't believe in having secure connections between the server and web browser, more because the way web browsers are treating HTTP unsecured connections by making it look like you're dangerous, this could be horrible, your computer could get infected, people could steal the information being transferred from our valuable show notes to your browser, and it's a lot of extra work. I maintain all our servers except for the MP3 and the IRC, and I think that's it. I maintain everything else. Some servers I've now been phasing out because I know eventually I'm going to have to buckle. I mean, already Curry.com, which does not have a secure encrypted transport, which it should have, but it's work. I got to go figure out how to do it, and I'm not a dude named Ben. I'm half-ass, so it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. And for things that really don't need to be secure. There's just no reason whatsoever for our type of content. But there's something else that I only read about yesterday. There are still, half the world, maybe more, is on slow bandwidth connections. I mean, I'm looking at Africa. I'm looking at lots of, even India, Pakistan. There's tons of, but Africa, I think, would be the main. To just have no good broadband, and they're sharing it with a lot of people. And the way this satellite, lots of people using satellite in Africa, the way they were solving some of the bandwidth problem is an old problem that we learned to set up. I used to do it myself, is have a local caching server. So that when you have, 50 kids at a school in Africa and they need to get to the internet, they're not downloading, and they have a 50 megabyte cap or whatever, or some crazy low amount of data, that they're not sucking down images and all these things, and they can get it from a local cache, which is, we used that in the early days of the internet because it was very, very efficient, made everything faster, and kept your bandwidth bills down, and you could actually use your connection. You can't do that with HTTPS. You cannot cache. By definition, the HTTPS connection cuts out any possibility of there being a man in the middle, and a cache would be a man in the middle. So there are now lots of people writing about this, specifically in Africa, that they're losing their shirts in money. They can't even get enough bandwidth, even if they had the money for it, because these satellite transmissions won't allow for it. They can't cache anymore. A long story to tell you that HTTPS is racist.
You could probably make the argument.
I just made it. It's racist against black people in Africa.
Sounds right. I'm all for it. Form an organization.
Yeah, let me talk to my buddy Lear. Let me see if I can latch on to his outfit.
Lear. All right. So I've got a couple of things here that are kind of interesting. I have that are political. We've got the Manafort trials going on, which is getting to be kind of funny, but they're not covering it as much as they were once they put the defense up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a couple of funny bits about here. What do we have? I got two clips. That one of them.
From what I understand, I've kind of tuned out of that because it's just like it doesn't seem like anything's going on of any interest. But is that they definitely defrauded, did some funky tax things. I guess the Gates stole from Manafort. You know, it's like a bunch of a-hole lobbyists is pretty much what I'm hearing. Doesn't seem really related to anything else.
Well, it's they're trying to twist it to somehow incorporate Trump.
Well, yeah, of course. I heard. I literally heard news reports. Finally, we heard the president's name in the trial today.
Yeah, that's actually
hello.
There's actually a news report that's saying that. But let's go with Gates versus Manafort. Get a little kind of some. This I only clip the stuff that's kind of amusing to me.
They'd be okay with a sentence of probation for initially lying to the feds, but that if he didn't, he could face 290 years in prison. So the Mueller team, Gates testified, prepped him for more than 20 hours to testify against his old boss. But as soon as the Manafort defense lawyers started asking Gates questions, they got him to admit that he's led a secret life in London, which included a girlfriend, not his wife, and a rented flat. Gates then testified he would figure out ways to trick Paul Manafort into paying his personal American Express bill, and that it's possible he may have fraudulently submitted personal expenses to be paid by the Trump inaugural committee. The Manafort defense team believes they have exposed the Mueller team's star as unreliable. That's why Manafort lawyer Kevin Downing asked, after all the lies you've told and fraud you have committed, you expect this jury to believe you? And Gates said, I am here to tell the truth and take responsibility for my actions. Mr. Manafort had the same path. I am here. I have accepted responsibility, and I am trying to change. Gates insists that if there are charges of financial funny business, Manafort always knew where the money was, and he always knew how to spend it. But the judge then jumped in to say Manafort wasn't that great at knowing where his money was if Gates was able to steal as much as he has admitted to stealing. Gates was told late yesterday afternoon that the Manafort defense team is going to have at least another hour's worth of questions for him this morning. That starts at 9:30 local time. We do not know who the Mueller team's next witness would be that they might call. We just know that they plan to wrap up their case, rest their case sometime this week.
Oh, brother.
So the interesting thing about this is the judge.
Yeah.
Apparently the judge doesn't think much of the Mueller team.
No, not much of the prosecution.
And so he's throwing stuff in like that particular anecdote where he says, hey, wait a minute. If he knows, so if he's got that much of a handle on things, how come this happened? And so he's interrupting the case.
Which is apparently rare.
Yeah.
During opening statements and stuff. Yeah. All right.
So he's apparently irked, and there's pictures of him like he doesn't like what's going on. And I think he did say that he thinks this is a fake trial, just wasting his and everybody else's time to try to get to Trump. But meanwhile, they bring out stuff that I think is very funny. And this is the Manafort clip.
The Mueller team again today, saying he doesn't want them to gild the lily by introducing more photographic evidence of luxurious Manafort purchases than they really need to make their case. And that is as photos like this one of a blazer from Beverly Hills-based House of Bijan with Manafort's initials PM stitched in are introduced as evidence by the special counsel's prosecutors. This morning's first witness was a Florida-based contractor from Big Picture Solutions. It's a company that installs smart homes and audio-visual systems and networks. And the contractor says he received millions of dollars worth of international wire transfers from Manafort for houses he did at Manafort homes, for work that he did at Manafort homes up and down the East Coast. And that sometimes he dealt with Manafort about the bill, and sometimes he dealt with Rick Gates, Manafort's deputy in business and at the Trump campaign. And the Manafort defense insists that if the Mueller team's allegations are true and big purchases were being made with international wire transfers from accounts rich with Ukrainian consulting fees hidden from the IRS, then Rick Gates is the guy who would know, because they argue Manafort was the boss, didn't concern himself with bookkeeping. Gates flipped on Manafort after pleading guilty to the FBI. The feds have had him penciled in as the star witness ever since, and the Mueller team announced this morning they have every intention of calling him to the witness stand. That was not clear yesterday. That was kind of left ambiguous. And at one point this morning, the judge told the courtroom before the jury came in, he doesn't think the Mueller team can prove conspiracy without Rick Gates' testimony, to which the Mueller team replied, not necessarily. Sandra.
All right. On day 3 there in Alexandria. Peter Ducey, thank you.
Juicy. No, there's nothing. There's nothing.
So apparently the judge also said, because of all these, they kept showing his clothes. Manafort's clothing. Yeah. They went to his closet, I guess, when they had the raid.
Yeah, they're building a profile of him being a douche.
Closet.
Yeah,
he's a douche. And so they're taking all these pictures, and the judge says, hey, is this guy on trial for being too rich?
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. But, I think they're uncovering, and I see more reports about it, even the New York Times. Manafort trial is showing us, just how many unregistered lobbyists and what kind of shenanigans they're up to all over D.C. So it may bring some things to light, but I just don't see it. These are all old crimes, if they're crimes, and old shenanigans.
No. And
it's nothing special. I did have this is a little longer clip, but if there's one guy you want to ask in America about, a guy who's still breathing and young enough to explain constitutional law, who would that be to you?
I think Dershowitz is the guy, I think.
Yeah, me too. And we've always thought Dershowitz was the right guy to listen to. And, of course, he's been shunned now.
It's because he's never really changed his path.
Yeah, bad. You gotta be flexible, man.
Yeah, he should be all for Hillary.
Flexible. Yes. So, he is butthurt about Hillary because he campaigned for her and he supported her and he voted for her and he gave money to her. That's no longer important because he's not on the collusion train, and he was on the Cuomo Kid show on CNN, and it was him against another lawyer, also former FBI agent. I think maybe just an FBI lawyer, although she's kind of billed as a former FBI agent, Asha Rangappa, and this is about the meeting at Trump Tower, because I think this is one of the final things that people are hoping for will be the nail in the coffin of Trump and the campaign and the family, and throw them all on the brink. Is that they knew that some Russian emissaries were going to come to Trump Tower. They knew that they had damaging information on Hillary Clinton. They knew this. They may not have gotten it, but just the fact that they did that breaks the law, because you may not receive or solicit anything of value from a foreign entity when you're running for office. And this is quite clearly spelled out in the Constitution, but of course, with all things Constitution, you can look at it from two different angles. And I like this because the Cuomo Kid kind of stayed in the middle, and he just kind of bopped between the box on the left and the box on the right, and you'll hear the FBI lawyer first. You'll hear Dershowitz. They're going to go back and forth, and I think he explains it quite clearly.
This tweet is a problem because it's acknowledging that the purpose of that meeting was to obtain information that would benefit the campaign from foreign nationals. Now, there are a few legal issues here. The first is whether what was being offered was a thing of value. This is something that you'll hear lawyers arguing about. And a big clue here is in the recent indictment that Robert Mueller just filed against the GRU officers. And in that indictment, the charges for hacking, which he brings against those 12 GRU officers, alleges that the stolen emails were worth over $5,000, which makes them a thing of value. I think you could argue that they are valuable in many other ways, but he's essentially laying the groundwork that this was a thing of value. The question here is, did they accept or receive it? I think that here you do have the other party, the Russian crown prosecutor friend or whoever these people were, reaching out. They weren't soliciting, but they did go to the meeting. And the question is, what happened afterwards?
If it's illegal to solicit, and you find out that someone has dirt for you and you know what kind of person it is and you go there to get it, Why isn't that soliciting? And then what do you make of this in context?
Well, first of all, it may very well be soliciting, and it may very well be a thing of value. The problem is it would be unconstitutional for a statute to prohibit a candidate from obtaining information from any source whatsoever. Just like the New York Times can't be prohibited from obtaining information, or Chris Cuomo can't be prohibited from obtaining information, even if the information you have is stolen, even if you know it was given to you by Manning or Snowden or Daniel Ellsberg. The Constitution requires an open marketplace of ideas.
This is very interesting. Listen closely, because what you're about to hear is the belief that there is a distinction between journalists and the rest of the world.
And you cannot construe a statute that was intended to prevent financial contributions largely to apply to information, to apply to facts, to apply to news. That would be unconstitutional.
This is a false analogy, Chris. First of all, political campaigns are not news organizations. And here, the key word in what Professor Dershowitz just said is the open marketplace of ideas. When you have something happening surreptitiously, be under the table, secretly, that is not an open marketplace of ideas. Now, if the Trump campaign went on TV and said, hey, the Russian government just gave us all this stolen information, and told the voters that would be one thing. I still think it would be a crime, but at least they're being transparent. When they are concealing the source of that is exactly what our open society is meant to prevent. We want people to evaluate information in context.
Professor, well, the statute itself clearly is intended to cover financial contributions. It's always been applied that way. It has
why
never
didn't they say
been
that?
Construed or interpreted. Why didn't they say what?
Money.
Well, they did. They said something about
this is the old Muscat's defense.
Value,
right? But why didn't they say money?
Construe a statute, but you have to construe even. Let me be even more specific. Even if they intended to cover this, they can't cover it because it would be unconstitutional. You cannot regulate ideas. The federal government simply doesn't have the power under the First Amendment to prohibit a candidate. Remember, a candidate is also expressing First Amendment views. He has exactly the same status as the New York Times and as you do. He has the right, or she has the right, to use any information from any source, and it doesn't matter whether it's a foreign or domestic source. And that's why to construe an ambiguous statute that way would violate the First Amendment. And the first rule of constitutional construction is if you have a statute that's capable of being construed in two different ways, you must always construe it constitutionally consistent with the First Amendment.
I hear the legal arguments on either
side.
side.
Such a construction.
I hear the arguments on either side. But, Asher, there's something else going on here. Lying, okay?
I cut it off there. It's like, well, that won't work. Lying! Lying! Anything they can do. How can you have such stupid people like this lawyer at the FBI? And she's really gone off the deep end with her legal analysis.
I like the way she said, instead of saying surreptitious, she says surreptitious.
Yeah, we have an actual knight whose name is surreptitious.
Yeah. But surreptitious is her word. Surreptitiously. Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. It's like, no, but I love how it's she tries to make a distinction. Well, the New York Times is different. It's a journalist. They have the right. This is the belief that is propagating very quickly, that there's a different right for journalists than for you and I or anybody.
Everybody's a journalist in this country.
And with that,
if they want to be,
I'd like to thank you for your courage.
Before you say it, yeah, okay.
Go ahead. I can wait.
Can you explain? I'm just looking to stall. Never mind. One of my various.
Yeah, with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and your stalling and say, in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for copulating for 30 years, Dvorak.
In the morning, you Santa Cruz. In the morning, all ships and sea boots and graphene in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to the troll room, noagendastream.com. Good to see you guys here. Full chat room, or troll room, to be correct. Thank you very much for showing up. And also a hearty in the morning to Mark G. Back on the scene. One of our pros. He brought us the artwork for episode 1057, the heckler's veto, another legal term we learned on the show. This was a dynamite. He did a number of pieces, and I think you used one in the newsletter.
Yeah.
But this was a modernistic depiction of a white silhouette with all kinds of colored fingers pointing at it. It was, frame worthy. I'm not kidding. If you took off our logo and you put it in a museum, people go, "Oh, that's deep. That is it's very deep, man. I really like it."
Yeah, it's deep.
It was good. It's a great piece of work. It's whenever Mark G comes on the scene, he never disappoints. Thank you so much, and thank you to all the artists who are continuously contributing. And when you go look at your podcast app, certainly the Apple, I don't know how other ones function, but if you go look at New and Noteworthy, we're always there. We're always near Rachel Maddow. And let me tell you, she's got the same tired-ass picture. And you look at our snazzy artwork, you just want to click on it. It helps. It really does. And it's appreciated. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. And thank you for your courage. Before you start, I just got an email from Sebastian Herrera, a reporter from the Austin American-Statesman. We're writing an article about Alex Jones. Even though he's been banned from Facebook, Spotify, etc., he still has a far reach online through his website and other sources. As someone who has a lot of experience with reaching people through different mediums, I was wondering if you'd be open to talking about the reach people have in this day and age without having to set up a big operation, as well as the trickiness of companies trying to regulate this stuff.
Ooh.
Do you think I should do that?
Make sure you get the name of the podcast, No Agenda Show.
So that's a yes, I'm doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And you can do a good job. You're going to kick butt.
Okay, I'm going to, but he says, the deadline's today.
Well, tell him that as soon as the show's over, you'll give him a call.
That's what I said. I'm saying it right now. Done. Okay. NoAgendaShow.com. I'll have to remember that. Got to get my plugs in. All right. Well, one of the ways you do that is by not relying on monetization from corporate entities, by not relying on their infrastructure at all if you can avoid it. And I think we've been pretty successful at that. And we have a group of people who have surrounded us over a decade, and they support us. They support us in many different ways, and one of them is financially. And we like to elevate the people in the top to the top of the show as our executive and associate executive producers. John has the list.
Well, we start off with Henry Barron of the Outpost West, who came in with 88.00, which is, of course, a celebratory donation for this 30-year anniversary.
Yes.
Wow. He says on his long note, which I will have to move this over. Okay. I haven't made one-time contribution in a while, but I did up my recurring contribution last year to equal the subscription price of the Financial Times.
There you go.
We got to have, what we need to do is on one of the newsletters, I want to put a big list of
costs.
What does it cost for the New York Times for a year? What does it cost for the Financial Times? What does it cost to go to a movie every week?
And he feels that this show equals minimum the value of the Financial Times. Well, thank you.
It's probably true.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that.
And he says, happy anniversary. There you go.
Thank you.
Nice. Kyle Carroll, a.k.a. Sir Enoch, Paladin of the Oil Patch, $500 from Big Spring, Texas. In the morning, Jansen, hello from Big Spring, Texas, the crossroads of West Texas. Turning for West Texas with an accent like this. Turning 48 on Friday, I can't think of a better self-gift than to support the best podcast in the universe. Thank you for you. He's on the birthday list? I don't think so.
Yes, he is. He is on the list.
Thank you for the courage and your bi-weekly episodic excellence. Keep it up. And if you have any, I suppose a little birthday karma would be nice. Give some birthday karma.
We can do that for him right now. Hold on a second. I was just writing the guy back. He says, can you do 3:30? He said, I don't think so.
You've got karma.
Sir Scott of the Bikes, 4/22/21. Job karma works. I landed a gig that gets me out of the vortex of DC douchebaggery. Furthermore, the karma overflowed into finding the perfect rental property in Colorado. It's a coincidence that all this happened leading up to 8/8/18. I think not. With my Q glasses on, this is clearly an elaborate conspiracy orchestrated by Q himself, John C. Dvorak. to elicit further donations to this No Agenda Front organization. Well played, Deep State. This donation is a match for my original Jobs Karma request, plus an extra $88.88 for JCD's anniversary. Congrats, you devilish rogue. And he will get the autograph photo. And so he needs, what does he need?
No, he didn't.
Job Karma.
Oh, Jobs Karma? Yeah, of course.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
Maybe he didn't have Jobs Karma. He's got bored. He knows what to do with now.
Hey, you're talking over everything, man. Can you not hear me? Can you not hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear the whole thing. I thought my talking over would work.
No, it doesn't really.
Anyway, I think he's just going to be overflowing with Job Karma. So, wire of the hidden jewel, James Pyers, Escondido, California, 333. Thank you for your courage. Please accept 88.88 plus 245.45 as my best podcast in the universe production investment. Please wish my wonderful, beautiful Swiss wife, Jasmine, a happy anniversary. We are now married 20 years and have been very fortunate throughout our journey together. John, Jasmine, and I were married on 8/8/98.
Woo!
So we were close to your near-perfect numerology. Congrats to Mimi and you, too. Job Karma, please, along with the rule follower, and I got ants, as much as you're willing to play, as we really do have ants.
What? No, it's not.
Amen. Fist bump to all the No Agenda producers and listeners.
Oh, brother. Okay.
I'm a rule follower, so if the rule is that we have to do it, then I'll do it. Amen. Fist bump.
I got ants. I got ants.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Let's hope that it doesn't give the ants jobs.
Right.
Anonymous 333. My moniker is Corporate Security Producer. I sent you an anonymous email as Corporate Security Producer from Proton Mail with some additional Jim Acosta deconstructions. NJNK, just a long overdue de-douching, please.
You've been de-douched.
Did you get that email? Corporate Security Officer?
I will look for it. Apparently it's got, I don't think it's meant to be read, so I'm not going to go to it yet.
Okay.
Scott Penton in Tonawanda, New York, 333. Hello, John and Adam. My birthday, 8/8 is my birthday.
Ah.
So I figured a donation is needed. I've been listening for a while now since Adam announced on the DSC that he was doing a Skype call with this guy named John C. Dvorak.
Wow.
I've donated a little more here and there, the best I can. So with this donation, I guess a de-douching is needed.
You've been de-douched.
Also, some job karma, please, for the other dude and dudettes named Ben that are looking for work too. I will continue to try and hit people in the mouth in FEMA Region 2. I'm thinking of starting a meetup in the Buffalo area to wake people up. A lot of shenanigans in the city of Buffalo, and West New York. Thanks for waking me up and being my main source of news since I no longer watch the news anymore, local or national.
There you go. Jobs karma for the dudes and dudettes named Ben.
Jobs,
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 jobs.
and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And then we have our Mark Jeremy Dytham.
Oh, Sir Mark.
Sir Mark, the Baron of Tokyo, or Duke.
He says email to follow at about 7 a.m. Did you get an email?
At 7 a.m. I start working on clips. I don't look at my email, really.
He said that he's OTG. Where is he's OTG somewhere? He wouldn't be able to.
In Phoenix. Off the grid in Phoenix. Okay.
I only have...
288.
Yes, here, this is Sunday?
Yeah, it would be today.
Yeah. No, today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
Sir Mark, Duke of Japan, the Japan Sea, and all disputed islands here. Greetings from Marble Canyon, Arizona, where we are truly OTG, 45 miles from the nearest store and with only dial-up access on a shared computer at the lodge we are staying at. Refreshing! I'm on a 3-week family road trip across America, 10 days West Coast, 10 days in and around Chicago with Mila Max and the keeper, Miss Natasha. What a road trip so far. L.A., San Diego, Phoenix, Sedona, Grand Canyon, Marble Canyon, then on to Antelope Canyon, Bryce, Zion Valley, Vegas, and back to L.A. with no agenda past and present blasting out along the way. Poor kids. So it seemed a great time to show our appreciation for keeping us sane and our view of the world so logical and real. Miss Natasha is always amazed by your insight and fairness, especially when it comes to discussing her compatriots. That would be Ruskies. As she has said from day one, there's been no collusion. No collusion, I tell you, Mark. Apart from the usual inconsequential nonsense that goes on all the time. What about the billions of negative ads the Democrats spent? Don't look over here. It's Natasha's birthday on the 8th of August, 8 of the 8th, hence the 288 donation. So please wish her a great day and give her some birthday karma. We should be in the car listening to this. We have been totally blown away by the beauty and scale of the U.S. on this trip and positive spirit of everyone we have met. America is great. Oh, man. Nice note, Mark. But why? But what's the problem here is how come you're not coming by Austin, bro?
Or the Poop City, San Francisco.
Hey, Poop City.
You've got karma.
I'm just going to put Natasha. I'm going to put Natasha on the list because she was not there. Okay.
Now, I will, in advance, I'll tell him Bryce Canyon is a stunner. Onward. Sir Dick Bangs, by the way, he'll be associate executive producer for the show, 1058. Sir Dick Bangs of D.C. in Washington, D.C., 266.64. 88 times 3 for each decade. Oh, that's a good one.
Good one. Nice.
Yeah. Excited for my signed picture to Sir Dick Bangs of D.C., Night of the No Agenda Roundtable. Love JCD. New home construction karma, and thank you for the sanity.
Okay.
You've got karma.
Anonymous, $233.33. During the heat of the 2016 election, I was hit in the mouth by someone at a random thread on 4chan, of all places. I've been hooked on your insightful media deconstruction ever since. Please give me a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Some goat karma at the end. In regards to this Q phenomenon, I'd like to remind everyone of this rule. The stories and information posted here are artistic works of fiction and falsehood. Only a fool would take anything posted here as fact. There's only one way for Q to prove himself in my book, and that's a picture of a set of boobs in the Oval Office with the timestamp written in Sharpie. Until then, it's just another LARP, like I've seen them plenty of times before. N.A. Anonymous from the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, that would be a great Q proof, as they call it, a boob proof.
Plenty of these. Oh, that's the next one is N.A. Anonymous. Oh no, that is okay. We got another Anonymous. Anyway, that's that. He ends it there.
Yep, that's all I seen. Well, thank you very much, Anonymous.
And now we have N.A. Anonymous from the Pacific Northwest, $211.60. He makes up for lost time with this note. Here's my contribution to keep you going. No Agenda provides an important analysis of current events by undoing distortions done by the M5M and by highlighting the heinous propaganda tricks. It helps maintain your mental harmony by demonstrating over and over again that it's not you who's insane, but rather those people around you with suppressed or exterminated critical thinking that keep reciting to you mass media memes they just read on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Preach.
You stay calm and relax while these people run around scared by the threat du jour, be it President Hitler, North Korean missiles hitting the U.S. West Coast.
Hey, remember when I was in Holland like a year ago and everyone was freaking out about the North Korean missiles? Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, that's gone.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, people forgot now. There were people really afraid. They had been so riled up by that in Europe. And in the Netherlands, it was nuts. I remember reporting on it. Oops, I guess that's not important anymore.
he goes on after the North Korean is talking about Ebola or the rising sea level. This is good for your general health, too. However, not everything is rosy here. Your comfortable existence comes at a price. You will feel lonely, surrounded everywhere by disturbed and sometimes deranged individuals. This is a depressing picture to watch. You have to keep your mouth shut most of the time because you let any of your logical thoughts escape. You'll immediately lose many of your Facebook quote-unquote friends. If you haven't quit it already, that is. After that, you'll start losing your real-life friends and acquaintances. You may get in trouble at work if you trigger somebody there. If you like to stay social and have many friends, stop listening to No Agenda. Go overboard.
The only show that tells you to stop listening. I like it.
But if you stay, they'll make you a day like no day has been or will ever be again. Just kidding. If you stay, support Adam and John with a contribution you can afford. Freedom is not free. And then NJNK, just please add a drone again at the end of the show. A classic masterpiece.
A drone again, naturally.
We got a third anonymous in a row. Talk about your random number working out.
Yeah.
$201. Keep me anonymous. They sent some email to share. I'm glad to share more insight off air. I will look for that for maybe later in the show. Kyriakos Mitzes. M-I-T-S-E-S.
I have the note, John. I have the note from Anonymous here.
Okay.
Episode 1057, outstanding work. Your competence and authority is admirable. I heard Adam say he hopes that white privilege and toxic masculinity are just Twitter issues. This is a good note. I regret to share that this nonsense has indoctrinated our biggest defense company, Lockheed Martin. And this is the reason that the note is anonymous, because I believe this person works there. All leaders are required, listen to this, John. All leaders are required to take training that teaches about white privilege and toxic masculinity. It's been ongoing for about a year. Also, all executives are required to attend a so-called white man summit. It's just shameful. The white men in these classes are figuratively castrated. They go to the front of an audience of about 50 leaders and explain when they realize that they are privileged. It's really a shocking display of impotence. The room is packed with folks with masters and PhDs making six-figure salaries, yet they fail to recognize neo-Marxism as it's happening. The minorities in the room openly say that senior leadership is too old and too white. No one challenges the overt racist and ageist prejudice. These meetings take place at corporate headquarters outside of Washington, D.C. Please focus on this. It's inside Fortune 50 corporate America at the highest levels. Wow. White man summit. How about that?
I wonder if the fact that the CEO of Lockheed Martin's a female
has anything to do with it. You'd wonder, huh?
Well, it makes you wonder. Kyriakos Mitzes in Malvern, Pennsylvania. We got another email here. See email from his email address. Let me see if I can find that right here. This is our last donation, so Mitzes K.
I don't have it. I don't have this one.
Okay, well, let me search squirrel mail.
Wow, that wasn't ready for you. I should have known.
There it is. Yeah, squirrel mail. I'm using squirrel mail remotely.
I can't even find the jingle.
Everywhere.
I can't even find the jingle.
Oh, never mind. I gave you enough chances. Here we go. Longtime boner, first time donor. I was compelled to donate after the recent crackdown on the seed man. I now realize the power the Silicon Valley authoritarian douchebags have, and I will no longer be supporting them. Good luck.
Yeah.
I am canceling my YouTube premium subscription and plan to divert those funds to No Agenda Show.
Oh, thank you.
I also plan to go OTG and find Adam's OTG segments extremely helpful.
Thank you.
You have one for today?
No.
The value for value that your show provides is well over this small donation. Please keep up the good work. I must request a de-douching and donate and the donate to no agenda jingle. Thanks. Take care.
Oh, you mean the what do you think he means? The Allah Akbar?
Donate to no agenda.
Oh, okay. And what was the other one he wanted?
The de-douching.
Oh, yeah.
You've been de-douched.
Donate to no agenda. They give ushers week after week. Donate to no agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to no agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to no agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
And that will be our associate executive producers and executive producers for show 1058. I want to thank each and every one of them for helping us get this show off the ground.
Yes, thank you very much. And these are titles that you can keep and cherish. You can put them anywhere that they may be of benefit to you, on business cards, on your resume, and your LinkedIn profile. It does work. We have 11 producers now currently experiencing jobs who have requested Jobs Karma. We could track that on LinkedIn, funny enough. And again, thank you for supporting the No Agenda Show. We'll be thanking more people coming up in our second donation segment, $50 and above. And please remember, we have another show coming up for you on Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
I think we've given you some deconstruction, things you can talk about and go out and propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
You know, I don't have an OTG segment, but I do have a life experience I wanted to share.
Oh, before you do that, it was mentioned in the report that you read about white privilege, and apparently the story that I insisted on replaying, even though we played it back in March, about the white privilege going on in the nursing in Australia was a hoax.
Yes.
Very well done. And we every once in a while get, or me in this case, Adam had nothing to do with it, get suckered by one of these things. And I apologize profusely.
The mistake.
I expected to get more feedback, but only one guy.
No, I think
there was a lot
people
of stories about it. So
what happens a lot is, you know, people don't look at dates. I do it myself. I've fallen into this trap, and all of a sudden you're watching something from, you know, half a year ago. It's like, wait a minute, it's new to me, but it's old news. I mean, it happens. It happens. You know how, and actually, I do know, you know, from when you were a teenager. You know how if you smoke weed, how music can sound different?
Hey, man. Yeah.
Seriously. You know what I mean, right?
It sounds a lot better.
Well, use that voice and try it with hearing aids. It's even crazier when you do that. You've got your brain trying to amplify the triangle, and the hearing aids are trying to amplify it even more. It's a trip. Just a life experience.
It's something to look forward to.
It's really good, man. I'm telling you, us deaf dudes, we got it made, man. It's awesome. Exactly.
So did you listen to Rihanna?
Over and over again. Ella, Ella, umbrella, Ella. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. No, I listen to classical music. It's much better. Much better. You know, that's another thing. I can stream that all day in my ears. I'm walking around. You can set the volume way in the background. It's just like the music is throughout the whole house, only it never changes in volume.
Huh.
Yeah. It's great. Except for the deafness, the hearing aids are pretty cool.
Well, I'm glad it's corrected the majority of your issues.
Oh, man. So much. Well, the main one was the TV blasting that the neighbors were knocking on the door, and the other one is not hearing when people are talking to you. What? Huh? What? I didn't hear you. What? I hated that.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that's no good. I noticed that. I noticed you had a clip, and I have one as well. And seeing as we have a brand new jingle for it, I thought I'd set you up.
AOC, socialism for you and me.
Woohoo! Ooh, yes. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Here's a clip.
Yes.
Where she talks about the people are like rolling their eyes over this one. She's talking, even though the middle class is from the 70s to today has actually gotten bigger. There's some statistics for that, but she still says this.
A lot of these folks were in their political heyday in third way 90s politics, and they were campaigning, and they were really kind of connected most to an electorate when they were fighting for these seats, when they got these seats, when they were campaigning most, when we had more of an American middle class. And so I think that politically, this like upper middle class is probably more moderate, but that upper middle class doesn't exist anymore in America.
What did she just say?
She said that the reason, well, I guess this was having to do with her being so successful because she's saying that the things have changed because the upper middle class, this is summarizing it.
Yes.
Things have changed and people are voting differently now because the upper middle class is gone.
Really?
That's what she said, yeah.
And is that some kind of socialist mantra, or I don't understand?
I have to assume it is because everything she says seems to be written for her.
I have something funnier.
Well, I'm sure anything would be funnier.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when we can mock her when she just goes into depths that she shouldn't be in. And she's got so much going for her. She's got the Uma Abedin look, kind of.
The crazy eyes and the big teeth.
Yes, crazy eyes and the big. But no, she's pretty. She's articulate. She has a lot going for her, except the depth of knowledge. It's really quite apparent. If someone could take hold of her and maybe get her some hearing aids so you can whisper in her ear, tell her what to say. Here she is with the Cuomo kid.
Then you get into the partisan issue of money, which is, man, do you want to spend a lot of my tax money on these proposals that you and Bernie and others have? Medicare for all, college tuition, maybe even housing, that the Green New Deal that you have, it is all very expensive, especially on the single payer side, and that it gives people sticker shock, even in Bernie's home state. They got sticker.
I like her. She's doing that again, John.
Sticker shock. They couldn't get it done in his state because of how expensive it is. And that was an 11% increase in taxes, 9 to 11%. Even that was too much for people. How do you pay? How do you sell it?
So first of all, the thing that we need to realize is people talk about the sticker shock of Medicare for all. They do not talk about the sticker shock of the cost of our existing system. You know, in a Koch brothers funded study, if any study is going to try to be a little bit slanted, it would be one funded by the Koch brothers. It shows that Medicare.
Does she not know that this is old? That you shouldn't be talking about the Kochs anymore? That they actually hate Trump? Is she dumb? Does she not understand that this is not what you do?
Citizens United must go.
Study is going to try to be a little bit slanted. It would be one funded by the Koch brothers. It shows that Medicare for all is actually much cheaper than the current system that we pay right now. And let's not forget that the reason that the Supreme Court upheld the Affordable Care Act is because they ruled that these monthly payments that everyday Americans make is a tax.
Man, I got a real problem with what she's saying here. That's not true. They did not rule that. They did not rule that the payments everyday Americans make is a tax. No, the penalty for not being covered was a tax. That's what the Supreme Court ruled. Not that just having health care insurance is a tax.
And so while it may not seem like we pay that tax on April 15th, we pay it every single month, or we do pay a tax season if we don't buy, these plans off of the exchange.
Yes, and they upped my premium to about $1,500 a month under the plan I was enjoying previously, which I no longer enjoy because it's unaffordable. That's how it was paid for.
So we're paying for this system. We Americans have the sticker shock of healthcare as it is. And what we're also not talking about is why aren't we incorporating the cost of all the funeral expenses of those who die because they can't afford access to healthcare?
There it is. Now that this is a great way to get behind her plan, don't you think? It's too expensive. People are dying. That costs a lot of money. I think this is one of the best I've ever heard. It's too expensive because people are funeral costs
of healthcare as it is. And what we're also not talking about is why aren't we incorporating the cost of all the funeral expenses of those who die because they can't afford access to healthcare? That is part of the cost of our system. Why don't we talk about the cost of reduced productivity because of people who need to go on disability, because of people who are not able to participate in our economy, because they have because they're having issues like diabetes or they don't have access to the healthcare that they need. I think at the end of the day, we see that this is not a pipe dream. Every other developed nation in the world does this. Why can't America? And that is the question that we need to ask. We have done these things before. We write unlimited blank checks for war. We just wrote a $2 trillion check for that tax cut, the GOP tax cut, and nobody asked those folks how are they going to pay for it.
AOC, socialism for you and me.
Woohoo! Sounds like a winner. My goodness. It's too bad because she has so much going for her. And the fact that she is now been elevated to this, almost international status, I would say. I'm reading about her everywhere famous. In the European press. They're talking about her as, the great hope.
Yeah, the great hope.
Yeah.
She is on a roll.
She already
thinks she's elected. She's president.
Almost. Yeah, she really feels like she's up there. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Somebody's behind all of it.
Well, there's been a lot online.
It could be Bernie. Bernie's group.
Well, there's Bernie's group, but there's also, people who have tied her to Soros money, of course. That's easy to say, too. You don't even have to look. I'm sure you can find it. That guy has so many little non-profitsy funds. It's ridiculous. So I'm sure there's something somewhere.
Well, she is also in the same camp as this other woman running for Attorney General of New York.
Who
we've talked about before, with the greatest name ever for I don't know what, Zephyr Teachout. And she is the leader
wait, she's leading the race?
Well, no, she can't be leading because she's a complete idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same basic pitch, and she's like a blonde, kind of looks like a housewife from Dubuque, and she, with the kind of the hair is not done quite right, but it's the same pitches that AOC has, is all socialist stuff, and I think a lot of Democrats are naively believing that the no borders, pro-immigration stance is something the American public wants. I don't know why you'd want it, but they must believe it. Listen to her. This is her recorded pitch. Is advertisement.
ICE has to be abolished. And I say that as somebody who's running for one of the top law enforcement jobs in the country. I have so much to say about ICE. Let me think about it quickly. I think it's critical that law enforcement speak out and say this is a tool of cruelty, unconstitutional behavior, illegality. There's so much wrong with ICE that goes to its very structure. The idea that people are illegal, the idea that we should see immigrants as a national security threat, and that ICE should be placed under the Department of Homeland Security, by the way, the area where the president has the greatest authority to do the most damage, just does not make any sense. ICE was born in xenophobia in the time after 9/11, and it has grown up to become a tool of fear and illegality. And as Attorney General, I will continue to speak out against ICE. I will prosecute ICE for their criminal acts. We have stories of consistent abuse within ICE. The idea that we could call this law enforcement is a real offense to the idea of law itself. And as AG and as a candidate for AG, I feel like it's really important to speak out to abolish ICE.
Fear is freedom. Subjugation is liberation. Contradiction is truth. Those are the facts of this world. And you will all surrender to them. You pigs in human clothing!
Yeah. I love her thinking.
Oh, God.
Jeez.
She is so out there.
It's really sad.
I think the whole party is headed in that direction because they don't know what to do. It's either that or Hillary one more time.
Yeah, she's off the scene and not heard from recently. What's going on?
I don't think she is off the scene. I think they've made a concerted effort to marginalize her. I think the media is behind it.
Yes.
I think they're so freaked out.
Sorry. They're so freaked
They're
out.
so freaked out that they've had to, like, just, I think they got the word, hey, that we can't run her again. It's not going to work.
Right. Well, there's so many problems socially right now, and you and I we've been laughing about the change of the term racism for a long time. They were actually. Let me start it up early. Let me give you something else. This is a story from NPR. Something is happening at the Oscars. You recall the Oscars it was 2 years ago. The Oscars was excoriated for not having enough black actors. Remember this?
Enough black actors nominated.
I'm sorry. Nominated. And then they kind of jiggered that a little bit. And, I guess last year
overdid it.
Yeah, it was, and they lost 20% of the audience. But now they're doing something new this year, and I think it's very obvious. This NPR report points it out, but doesn't really call it out by name.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced a new Oscar category today. Starting with the 2019 awards, which will honor movies released this year, there will be a prize for outstanding achievement in popular film. The Academy also announced other changes to its telecast, like keeping it to a trim 3 hours. Why do we need a new category for popular movies?
We don't really, but the Academy does. The Academy is interested in eyeballs. All three of the changes that they introduced today are about getting more people to watch the telecast, which is a little surprising. Why does the Academy care about that? Because at least some portion of their operating expenses comes from selling TV rights to that broadcast.
And the last Oscars were like the least watched of all time or something like that?
Yeah, we got to throw a caveat in there. That's 6.5 million people. That's
still
pretty good, but about 20% down from the previous year.
Hey, John, could you imagine if we talked on the show like this, and I say, hey, John, what do you think about that? It's pretty good, but it would be very, very nice to listen to. I could just listen to it in the car all the time in my earbuds. It'd be great. It's like NPR sounds great here.
So they're worried, and they want more people to watch. And they want the people who love popular movies, like, say, Black Panther, to watch the telecast and have a rooted interest.
Except Black Panther is an interesting example, because I think many people expect it to be nominated for, I don't know, normal Oscars, like Best Picture maybe. So what's the difference between most popular movie and like Best Picture?
Well, that's the thing. Whatever they do, it's going to be seen as an also-ran, whoever is nominated for this category. And what does popular mean? Are they going by box office numbers? Because yes, there's a very good chance that Black Panther, it's a great movie, could be nominated. But I think they're trying to account for the fact that it might not be.
Yeah, here's what's going on. They're so terrified, because, all the big action movies are never nominated for anything, anytime, anywhere, ever. Because they're not considered good movies by the Academy. And the Academy knows...
Most of them aren't.
Most of them aren't. They're just big action movies. Well, there's a lot of technology in them, and
they put a lot of effort into it, and they spend a lot of money to do it, but it usually pays off. They make a fortune.
Yeah.
And they're all tentpole movies in the middle of the year just to get people who are bored to go do something.
Right. But they do not get nominated for Best Movie category.
No, they get nominated for special effects.
Technical awards, special effects, maybe sound. I wouldn't say sound either. I'd have to look at it. They are so afraid that either Black Panther will not get nominated for Best Picture, but also that it won't win.
It shouldn't.
They should not. It's just not that good. It's not
that good. I had a copy of Black Panther, and I was watching it, at the house, and it was because everyone, it was a great movie.
Yeah.
So I actually could not get through, or after about an hour, I couldn't get through it anymore. I couldn't take it.
Yeah. You know why? Because you're a racist, Dvorak. That's why. Now you've got the whole point. You can't even say in a group of people, yeah, I think the movie was no good. I couldn't get through it.
No.
Audible gasp. Oh, racist. So but they're stupid because now it's going to get worse. Because I can predict, I think what will happen. Black Panther will be nominated in Best Movie and Popular Movie. It'll win Popular. It won't win Best Movie. The Academy thinks, okay, well, we gave him an award, so we're all done with the racist thing. But there's going to be huge backlash and outrage about it not being the best movie, racist, Hollywood. It's going to be fun to watch. And they're just pussies. That's why they brought this whole stupid category in. For years,
they're
people
not
have been
nominated for Best Picture.
I bet you they do.
Well, $5.
$5 it is. You're on.
Okay.
Now to MTV, my old stomping ground. We used to play videos by Guns N' Roses. Okay, I admit it. I played a lot of New Kids on the Block, too. But that was forced labor. But they have MTV.
Were you programming yourself? I thought they were telling you what to do.
No, that was Dial MTV. And that was the precursor to TRL, Total Request Live, with Carson Daly. And it's a dial-in. So, and by the way, MTV completely screwed with this all the time. Because back in the day, it was telephone. They call up and they say, yeah, I want New Kids on the Block. New Kids on the Block was insane. And the channel didn't want to play it because it wasn't, rough and cool. It wasn't rock. It wasn't rap. It was, it was a bunch of white kid boy band. We don't want them on MTV. But they were incredibly popular, so they'd have thousands of fans tie up the phone lines every single day calling for New Kids on the Block, so they couldn't get around it. They'd always have to put it on the chart. It wasn't always at number one. Anyway, I digress. So they've changed from this Video Music Network, and I think correctly they did the right thing because music videos became a commodity and it just wasn't a profitable business. But this MTV Decoded, and I looked it up, we've played a similar clip from them about half a year ago. And this helps us understand from a black girl and Hispanic guy how there's a difference between racism and colorism. And this is where you and I have got to hip up, my friend, because we're still working on the assumption that the word racism means what it means in the dictionary. I've chopped this up a lot because it go into deep examples and racism within the black communities and Hispanic communities. But really the point is you got racism. They explain very clearly what racism is. And then really what we used to call racism is now colorism.
Today we're talking about a mode of discrimination that predominantly...
John, it's a mode of discrimination. It's a mode of discrimination.
Today we're talking about a mode of discrimination that predominantly impacts people of color. And you might be surprised hearing this from me, but this episode's not about racism. I'm talking about colorism. First, let's be clear about what the word colorism actually means. Colorism is not synonymous with racism. It's a form of discrimination based on skin color. And before you're like, wait, isn't that like the literal definition of racism?
Isn't that like the literal definition of racism?
Hold on to your social constructs because we're going to knock a few down. Okay. And today we've got a special guest to help us with this demolition project. Hey Lee, let's break this one down.
Claro que sí. As a Latino of color, colorism is something I'm all too familiar with. Racism involves discrimination based on things such as skin color, but it's also dependent on power dynamics that become perpetuated by years of structural oppression. Black and Latino men getting longer...
Now, just right there, I mean, that is just not the definition of racism, but it's the new definition that everyone has bought into. It's not just skin color. It's pretty much the power structure of the whites that do anything against anybody else is racism.
This Jordan Peterson talks about this, and he says that it's a sleight of hand in the humanities in the colleges. And what they've done is that they've turned the class structure and the race structure into oppressors versus the oppressed. And that's the basis of identity politics. And the identity politics is always the oppressed. So if you're the oppressor class, whites, there's no racism. There can never be racism against you.
Yes,
because you're an oppressor.
Yes, this comes up in this clip.
Something I'm all too familiar with. Racism involves...
I'm sorry?
I just said the whole thing's a perversion of logic.
Yes.
Discrimination based on things such as skin color, but it's also dependent on power dynamics that become perpetuated by years of structural oppression. Black and Latino men getting longer sentences for the same crime as white men, racism. Black and Latino aunts telling you to date light-skinned men, colorism. Because we often conflate race with skin color, sometimes distinguishing between colorism and racism can get tricky. Colorism. It sucks. This is one way racism and colorism are different. Systems of oppression favor white people, meaning black people can't technically be racist towards other black people. But clearly in this case, they can and do perpetuate colorism in their own communities. The discrimination is coming from inside of the house. Example number 3. Language. There's a pretty common phrase people in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic grow up with. Cafre. Among Spanish speakers in the Caribbean, the word means someone low class or brutish, and is said by people of all colors and racial backgrounds. The word implies you're acting darker in both complexion and behavior, but the word itself carries a linguistic and cultural connection to blackness. It shares roots with the South African racial slur, kafir.
Now, I left this in because I realized the South African term kafir. I realized that there's a Dutch term. South Africans speak a version of Dutch because of the colonies, and that word is kafir. So it's the same. The root, I guess, is kafir from South Africa, but kafir is used. I didn't realize it's a racial term. It's used all the time in the Netherlands. I don't think anyone realizes it's kind of used a term as that guy's an idiot. A kafir, he's a kafir. So it's just an idiot. But it's a race. The Dutch are racist. They use this all the time, and I don't think anyone realizes the origin of the word, and I finally figured it out. It means it's racist against slow, dark people.
A colonial phrase that rose to prominence during apartheid, and that's often compared to the N-word in the United States. While cafre might not carry the weight of an ethnic slur in Spanish, it's indicative of how colorism can quietly become a part of everyday life. So how do we begin to eradicate colorism from our communities? Let's get to work. It starts with some self-reflection. Sometimes our learned prejudices can take over like muscle memory. So first and foremost, ending colorism means unlearning what we've been told about what beauty and success should look like. So that goes for you, the I'm not black, I'm Dominican guy. You can be black and Dominican guy. But it also means breaking the steady stream of whiteness that still dominates Latin American media, politics, and culture. Trust me, I've been working in entertainment for a while, and I've seen things.
Ultimately, no one wants to be judged solely based on their external appearance. Whether these judgments come from people who look like you or don't, your skin color shouldn't determine your job prospects, your worth, or your place in society. We don't have to be colorblind, but combating colorism means embracing the full spectrum of our skin tones, especially in our own communities.
There you go. The difference explained between racism and colorism. And colorism seems to only happen amongst POCs. It can't actually be a white person. As a white person, you can't be colorist against a black person. You're racist. And I think we should just accept this social construct.
What was this? This was on MTV?
Yes. Yep.
A sociological screed?
Yes.
I wonder who wrote it.
Oh, well...
I got to tell you, it's some professor or some local yokel.
No, this is probably just from the MTV News department. They write everything.
Well, maybe.
MTV News.
Well, there was a real case of racism, kind of in a reverse, kind of a screwy thing that happened. This was the big Candace Owens event. She was in the coffee shop, and the Antifa group came around and rousted her.
Mm-hmm.
But so she goes on the talk show thing. She's a very attractive black Republican woman, and conservative.
She got 2 out of 3.
Yeah. And so she's on this show, one of these talk shows. I don't know if it's on Fox or CNN, but it's some professor is going on and on. And so she kicks it up a notch and goes after him. And I think this is the woman you have to put up against Anna Navarro.
If we're concerned
when you
about
hear this, sorry?
No, go ahead.
Because when you hear this, you hear someone who's like, she's like non-stoppable. She's fast talking. She's much like that.
Well, isn't she in PR? Doesn't she do PR for some nonprofit group already? She definitely
like that.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing for sure.
She knows what she's doing, but she's got that. This guy Hill, the professor that's been floating around, used to be on O'Reilly, a lot of black Democrat, fast talker, and you couldn't really any fast logic, fast on the draw, and just occasionally she goes off the rails and writes herself. But just listen to this little exchange.
If we're concerned about black people, we've got to be concerned about poverty, inequality, lack of access to education, plus the kinds of sorts of violence that we see directed toward black people in this country.
Great way to end the conversation. Sorts of violence as being directed towards black people. Am I black? I'm curious if I'm black, because I'm a black conservative, and I am not hearing anything that is said about the fact that about 25 white Democrats assembled to kick me out of a restaurant yesterday, to throw water and to throw eggs at me because I am a conservative that supports supports Donald Trump. The very same Donald Trump, okay? The very same Donald Trump that has not Obama. Obama did not do this. It's because President Trump has been slashing regulations, and it has brought this economy to a place it has never been at, okay? We have unemployment that's an all-time low for both women. You brought up women, you brought up gays, you brought up black people. Unemployment is at an all-time low across the board. You guys refuse to acknowledge the truth that we are doing better. You want to talk about fascists? Antifa attacked me. This is an all-white gang that attacked me and attacked an all-black police force in Philadelphia, okay? And they claim to be fighting racism.
Hey, John, you got to send her a memo. She's got to stop with the okay. She's got to stop with that.
How is it plausible?
I agree, but hold on. She does it. She uses it as I don't know how she's doing it, but she uses it as a block when the guy
wants to say something. Yes,
trying to get a word in edgewise. She says okay, and then continues on her merry way. But yeah,
who cares? She's hot. I don't care what she says.
An all-black police force in Philadelphia, okay? And they claim to be fighting racism. How is it plausible, Professor, that you allow this to happen to your community because you've decided that because we are ideologically conservatives, you are okay with this? You're okay with the resurgence of the Democrats?
I haven't said a word.
Don't cut me off.
I haven't said a word.
You just said a lot of words.
I didn't say a word.
Actually, if somebody was counting,
I said nothing about you.
Now you're cutting me off.
I said nothing about you.
No.
I find what happened to you reprehensible, by the way.
I still have to keep it going. Candace, we're going to take a pause.
No,
Candace,
I didn't get to finish. You just went on for 5 minutes straight. You are attacking.
I'm going to let you finish, but if you're calling out the professor, I have to give him time. So, Candace, go ahead.
Liberals have been attacking conservatives, and you guys say nothing about it. Blacks were attacked yesterday, okay? And they were attacked because they support Donald Trump. Black support for Donald Trump has doubled since this time last year. You guys can try to pretend that he is pushing in a racist era in this country when, in fact, we know the Democrats are the racists, have always been the racists. The parties never switched, and you should know this. As a civil rights person, you know the history. You know the people under the hood of the KKK,
let me respond.
were
Candace,
Democrats, and the party never switched. And
Candace, I'm going to give the professor a chance to respond.
Yesterday and defend our community being attacked because we support Donald Trump, because we understand that we have better economic opportunities under him than we ever had in Obama. And shame on you for spreading in Obama.
Candace,
my goodness. For a freight train. Not very useful, the last half of that discussion, but
no, because it was. But I think she could take on Ana Navarro, and it would be very interesting. Though you wouldn't be able to hear a word of it because they'd be yelling at each other.
You know, it's not interesting. It's gotten boring.
Well, she should employ the excuse me technique that Kellyanne Conway's perfected.
Oh, yes, she does that very well, doesn't she? Excuse me, But that's how she uses her okay. Yeah. She uses her okay in the same way.
It doesn't work as well because when Conway does it, she says "excuse me," and then you're interrupting, and she does a job of stopping the interrupter and making them look rude.
Right.
This girl just goes, like you said, it's like a out of control freight train.
Doesn't stop.
And doesn't stop, which is another technique I've seen it used, and it's, that's what Ana Navarro does. She does the same thing. She never stops and says, excuse me. She just goes like a maniac. But, yeah, I'm just putting her on the list.
No, instead of Ana Navarro, we should put her up against the intern for the Black Caucus, who's always on CNN. That girl.
Oh, I don't know who it is.
I forget her name. She's always bitching and moaning about not my president. She's on CNN all the time. What's her name now?
I don't know.
Troll Room? You're slow.
You have to remember that I don't watch CNN much.
Yeah, I hear you. Just two quick things before we take a break here. Do we have any? Chris Collins, New York congressman, indicted on insider trading. A lot of people saying, you guys said they couldn't be indicted on insider trading. So this is very different. This is very, very different.
Very different. I have a clip.
Good.
Indicted congressman.
The Justice Department has indicted a sitting U.S. congressman, Republican Congressman Chris Collins of New York. The allegations against him incredibly serious. The allegations securities fraud, insider trading. Shimon Perkipez standing by with the details. And Shimon, I do want to read for our viewers as you before you walk us through the indictment. The allegation is, wire fraud, securities fraud, false statements. Here is the full statement coming from Representative Chris Collins. Let me read it. We will answer the charges filed against Congressman Collins in court and will mount a vigorous defense to clear his good name. It is notable that even the government does not allege that Congressman Collins traded a single share of Innate Therapeutics stock. We are confident he will be completely vindicated and exonerated. Congressman Collins will have more to say on this issue later today. So that raises a question. Will he hold a press conference? Will he issue a personal statement? This comes from his team. But again, this is about a pharmaceutical company out of Australia that he sat on the board of while he was a sitting U.S. congressman until just April.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like he screwed up because he told his family members to sell their stock.
Well, he expressed the concern over the fact that he knew in advance that the super drug they were working on was failed, the FDA.
Right.
Now, this is different than what we were talking about. Senators and congressmen have access to important bills and committee minutes, and they know what's going to pass and they know it's not going to pass. And that is kind of inside information and insider trading at a certain level, a certain type of insider trading that they are exempt from being prosecuted for.
Yeah, and
that specific.
And Obama signed a law into effect that it was a real half-hearted attempt by Congress. It's like, well, they can still do these trades, but they have to record every single one of them, and the trades are recorded on, I think, microfiche in the basement of the of the library. Yeah, you can't make copies.
They're public if you go there.
Yeah, you can't make copies.
Yeah, you can't make copies.
Yeah, and so you
have to go there and memorize.
Yeah, they're all doing insider trading. This guy's an idiot. I mean, how could you get caught when you can do all this stuff legally as a congressman?
Yeah, this is an illegal as a congressman type of insider trading.
But do you think that he was? Do you think it's possible maybe someone's on to a lot of this insider trading and they had to get someone and throw him out there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's got anything to do with what's legal. If anything, this guy was a big Trump, the first congressman who supported Trump.
Oh yeah, that's of course I forgot about that.
Hello, Target.
Yes, yeah. Well, more elites from New York. Bill de Blasio, the mayor, is starting to bring in regulation and all kinds of rules to block Uber and Lyft and other ride-hailing services. And here's what he tweeted. Our city is directly confronting a crisis that is driving working New Yorkers into poverty and our streets into gridlock. The unchecked growth of app-based for-hire vehicle companies has demanded action, and now we have it. And I thought, well, by the way, if you go look at the comments, you'll know this guy is an elitist prick. Who has problems with gridlock traffic in New York City? Is it the working men and women of New York? No. It's the elites whose limos can't get around. Everyone else is like, I need Uber because your damn subway system doesn't work. I'm at this stop. It's been closed for 9 months. I'm over here. No one can get subways. The whole system is shit. And he's complaining about what's happening above ground. The men and women who work in New York cannot get to work without assistance from time to time from these ride-hailing companies. Taxis are twice to 3 times as expensive. I mean, this is a scam. And I'm no big fan of Uber and Lyft, but for him to be saying, "Oh, this is a crisis," it's just for the elites. When you're in New York, do you drive around in a cab all day, wherever you're going, or you grab a subway?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
I'm always on the subway.
It's the only way to do it in New York if you really want to get somewhere. But no.
Yeah. I'd probably take a bus once in a while if I knew where the buses go, but the subways are very easy to deal with.
Well, that ties into our model, John. Taking the bus.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
And you're right. It's the elites and their limos and ride, services. Limos.
Yeah.
They're having trouble getting around.
Yeah.
In the good old days, PC Magazine, when it was making millions and millions of dollars, we all had accounts. It was great.
Oh, yeah. At MTV, we had Communicar with vouchers.
Yeah, vouchers. We used to do vouchers.
Yeah, you fill out
and
the
then people
voucher.
would get you're using too many vouchers.
JJ Jackson, who died, he died 15, 20 years ago now. He was one of the original MTV VJs. He was the big black guy.
Yeah.
Communicar, who we used in New York, they called him the franchise. This guy was always out partying all night, and he just give him a blank voucher and say, stay. And he'd have him for 10 hours, and they'd just be hanging outside the club. He'd bring him to a shift, wait outside. At a certain point, JJ, man, this is going a little bit too far. $1,000 a night on Communicar charges. Good old JJ. Died of a massive heart attack.
Ever since the collapse of the .com in 2000.
Yeah, it was good times back then. Good times.
Sir Pate Snakes in the Netherlands, 123.45. I will read his note. He's an important
contributor. Yes, important guy.
Once again, I'd like to thank you for the great content. Please put me on the birthday list for my 44th on the 11th. Also, a warm welcome to the table of the other Sir Pate. Really?
Yeah, we've got Sir Pete Snakes.
And he needs some job karma if you can afford it. We'll put that at the end for you.
You bet. Thank you very much, Sir Pete.
Anonymous, 100. Jennifer Kirchner, 100 from Paulsbo, Washington, one of the cutest little places you'll ever find. She does have something to say. She wants to call out. She needs a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
And she wants to call out Barnaby.
Douchebag.
B.
Douchebag.
Tabby.
Douchebag.
And Kanoa.
Douchebag.
For being douchebag. I'm sorry, for being douchebagged. For being douchebags and not donating recently. She needs some baby making karma. We'll put that at the end.
Oh, yeah,
Christopher Collins in Springfield, Missouri, 8970. Jackson Butler in Levelland, Texas, 8888. Oh, these are the 888.
Hold on, just for Christopher Collins, donation in honor of his wonderful wife's birthday on 8/9. I'd like to wish her a very happy birthday. Tell her I love her. Okay. It's important.
Needs a de-douching.
Those little notes are important. Who needs a de-douching?
He does. Okay. Christopher.
You've been de-douched.
All right, now the following people are 8888 donations in celebration of the 30th anniversary. Jackson Butler in Levelland, Texas. Roderick Velo.
Hey, TPO podcast.
David Weed in Three Rivers, Michigan. Frederick Leaders in Ontario, Oregon. Chris Whitten in Millboro, Virginia. Dame Tanya Wayman in New York, New York. Sir Horatio Now of Arabia in London. Well, probably not. He's just got that in his PayPal account. But it says London.
Yeah.
Vengdeli Gitlin in Springfield, Virginia. That's a butcher job, I understand. Sir Josh Mandel in Greenville, South Carolina. Erkki Juras in Finland. I think that's probably reasonable pronunciation. William Hoggy in Niles, Michigan. Sean Fincham in Portland, Oregon. Alex Schoenveld in Seabrook, New Hampshire. Sir Patrick Coble there in Tennessee. Paul Love in Mechanicsville, Virginia, 8888. Spike Angus in South Jordan, Utah. Anonymous in Oliphant, Pennsylvania.
Spike has a call out and he wants a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
He's got a trifecta here, John. Who do we have to douche?
Okay, he wants to call out Danny Angus.
Douchebag.
Daniel T. Hall.
Douchebag.
And Landrea Jane Winward.
Douchebag.
We'll see how that goes. Anonymous in Oliphant, Pennsylvania, 8888. Christopher Howell in Frederick, Maryland.
Hey, are you going to put Dear Anonymous on the picture?
Anonymous
wanted an autograph picture.
Yeah, no, I see that.
I'm just wondering. Do they get it with their name, or do you put Dear Anonymous?
Well, I was thinking the name, but, if it's anonymous.
No, I don't. Just a question.
It says anonymous, but autograph, okay, maybe just sign it. Not sure. We'll just sign it.
Yeah.
Christopher Howell in Frederick, Maryland. Carlos Sanchez, parts unknown. Joseph Yona in Ludlow, Vermont. Daniel Dusaswa. He's in Ireland. Danilo Dusaswa, I guess. I'm not sure. Unless he has a
Danilo says he's a monthly donor, always contributes $13, but the show is worth so much more. You keep me sane from the media brainwashing that we're constantly being subjected to. Please accept my donation of $88.88, although it's nowhere near enough. Thank you very much. Danilo in Cork.
Cork. Dame Elizabeth and Sir Big Johnson. In Poughkeepsie, New York. Tim White.
Should see the ring on that guy.
Lee's Summit in Missouri. Sir John Kilburn, Black Knight in Houston, Texas. Sir Joe in Palm Bay, Florida. Sir Craig Porter in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Ron Link in Holbrook, New York. Sir John, a.k.a. Red. Congrats. Wants a picture. Sir Kevin Dills, Viscount of Charlotte, North Carolina, and Sir Mike in Wakefield, Massachusetts. Charles Eves in Hawthorne Woods, Illinois, and last couple here, Jason Zeisler in Renner, South Dakota. Jonathan Ferris in Liberal, Kansas. Nigel Ewan. John Davis in Surveillance, Brentwood, Tennessee. Rick Agro in parts unknown. Colin Ayers in Blissfield, Michigan. Nathan Miller Foster.
You guys, the low donations this summer are wearing on you guys. You're starting to fight a lot. Adam in particular seems to be very sensitive. Okay.
He is. He's always.
It's called real. If you want, hey, go listen.
Hey, man, it's real.
Go listen to that NPR thing of those guys discussing the Oscars, and tell me you'd rather have that. Hey, John, it's really great to hear from you guys. I'm so fantastic, my colleague.
I
John
can't even talk that fast if I try. What are those guys getting paid by the word?
I guess.
Nathan Miller Foster, Sir Midnight of the Rivers in Crestview, Florida. Robert Roberts in Medford, Oregon. Okay, I got a lot of photos. This photo thing's going to take about a month.
Just to sign them all.
Well, there's a lot here because everyone wants one. It's one of those ideas of mine that I always
regret. Regret.
It's not that regret. It's just, we on this show we don't give away stuff. We don't give tote bags or anything like this.
Mugs.
And once in a while we commit to something like this, and then you go,
yeah, who's this we? Who's this we committing?
Me. Robert Roberts in Medford, Oregon, and that ends our little list of well-wishers. I want to thank them all, even though there's more well-wishers. Carla Kruger, 8859. I'm sure she's got something to say in an email. Paula Peters in Middletown, Connecticut, 5833. Sir Milkman, double nickels on the dime. He's got a note, keep it classy. Robert Luke in Salt Lake City, best podcast in the universe, double nickels on the dime. And the following people are $50 donors, name and location if available. Joseph Pumphrey, I believe this is Sir. Jonathan Meyer in Xenia, Ohio. David Schlesinger in Rosemont, Illinois. Edward Mazurek in Memphis, Tennessee. We have a lot of people in Tennessee. Larry Hay in Mooresville, North Carolina. Tony Smith in Fort Worth. Tyler King, parts unknown. He's got a long note. Why don't you check it out? He loves the OTG thing.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Mochak in El Cerrito, California. Usually down the road from me. Victor J. Munoz in Miami, Florida. And last but not least, Anthony Sammons in Augusta, GA.
Okay.
Thank all these folks for producing this show. Thank you.
Thank you. That's exactly what producers do, and we love to thank them for doing that, and thank everyone who comes in under $50, which is often done for reasons of anonymity. I don't see any $49.99s today, but we have a lot of people on the subscriptions. That is really appreciated, the sustaining donations. Be a sustainer. It really does keep everything rolling.
Be a sustainer, not an explainer.
Yeah, on the lower donations, lower donation days. Thank you very much. No Agenda Show. It's your best podcast in the universe, Dvorak.org/NA. And we have a meetup. I was just looking at my cheat sheet here that Eric the Shill gave me. He doesn't tell me what day this meetup is on. We have one in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the Marble Brewery. And I have 7 to 9 p.m., but I don't have a date, which is an oversight, to say the least. Do you know the date of this meetup?
No, it might be. It might be under meetups.com. If you do a search with New Mexico, it's possible.
Oh,
that's okay. We got a Sunday show, unless it's tomorrow. We do have a meetup, obviously, at Vaughn's 1000 Spirits in Seattle, Washington, tomorrow from 6 to 8 for all the Pacific Northwesterners that want to come out. And we probably have about 30, 40 people there.
Yeah, so I think meetup.com, I think is what it is where you can find information about them.
I hate that site, but
no one seems to like it, but it does kind of work, and Mimi's in control of it. But anyway, there is a Albuquerque, New Mexico meetup coming up, and so make sure you check that out if you're in the neighborhood.
Maybe someone in the chat room can try to look it up while we're talking. I want to mention there's this protocol because people like to give donations at these meetups, and the protocol is to put the donation, whatever it is.
John, we're not going to be there.
I am.
Oh, you're going to not the Albuquerque meetup?
No, I'm just saying that the protocol for the meetups where we're there.
Gotcha.
You put the money or the check in an envelope with your name. You got to put your name in there with a note with your name, and if you want something read on the show, it's appropriate.
Right. And so when is that? When is that meetup?
That's tomorrow in Seattle at Vaughn's 1000 Spirits on 1st Street.
Right. Then we have
6 to 8.
Arlington, Virginia on the 12th, August 12th. And Monday, August the 13th, is the Albuquerque meetup.
Yeah, but the Virginia one seems is going to be very popular.
Yes. And it's at some hall, isn't it?
I don't know.
The Constitution Hall?
Yeah. They're going to write up a Declaration of Independence. We're decided to forsake the No Agenda show and start our own show.
There you go. All right. Thanks again, everybody. It's highly appreciated. Another show coming up for you on Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
As requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's your birthday.
Today being the 9th of August, 2018, we say happy birthday to the following people. Belated birthday to Tyler King, celebrated on the 5th. Scott Penton celebrated birthday yesterday. Tyler King says happy birthday to Jason Hart. Nigel Ewan says happy birthday to his beautiful wife, Karen. It's her birthday today, as is Paula Peters. And Natasha the Keeper celebrated yesterday, 8-8. Kyle Carroll, a.k.a. Sir Enoch, Paladin of the Oil Patch, turned 48 tomorrow. And Sir Page Snakes, 44 on the 11th. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
No title changes, no knightings, no nothing else. Nothing. Just nothing. Nothing else. Hey, sad news.
Birthday list.
Sad news, John. Although I'm very happy I did get to taste the mashed potatoes. Joel Robuchon passed away.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's like, oh.
That's horrible, isn't it?
Pretty much, because he was right now the top guy. He was throwing the restaurants out there. And you're right. And you got to eat at his place in Vegas. And, you thought it was one of the best ever.
And, it was unbelievable. And Tina and I, because it was her birthday weekend, we went to Vegas. We went back and looked at the pictures because I remember the food was so, I mean, we didn't post them like on Instagram, but Tina, she likes to take pictures. And we went back and looked at the dishes, and there was the mashed potatoes. That was his signature dish, wasn't it?
No, not really.
Oh, that's what I read everywhere in all the obituaries. That's kind of sucks then.
Well, he made a good mashed potatoes. There's no doubt about it. But
actually, it was whipped potato. It was whipped potato. Whipped potatoes. Yes, exactly. Sad though. So you never got to have his whipped potatoes?
I've had his whipped potatoes. I've eaten at his places.
Yeah.
I used to stay in France. You would stay at the Astor, which I believe where you opened up a 2-star restaurant. Just opened up as a 2-star.
Mm-hmm.
I went there first. They said, "Oh yeah, Robuchon's going to open up this restaurant here, and it's just going to get 2 stars." I said, "It's not even open yet."
Two Michelin stars, huh?
Yeah, apparently he's so good that Michelin just grants him 2 stars for starters,
just for opening it up. Damn.
Yeah. And then you can get the 3rd. I think it may have got a 3rd star eventually, maybe not. I don't remember.
Well, no more. Now, do they take those stars away? What happens with a signature restaurant like that, which is in the isn't it MGM, where the restaurant is in Vegas?
Yeah, that's at the MGM. That one you went to.
What happens?
They actually got 2 restaurants there.
So what happens when your signature restaurant?
Send the inspector over. If the place is still up to par, they don't change the stars necessarily.
But will people still go there expecting Robuchon fare? I mean, how
Robuchon wasn't there when you were there. He didn't come out and say hi.
He did not.
He directs the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And so unless the place just has bad, a lot of these places, they do fall apart right away once the leader is gone because they don't have anyone yelling at them.
Yeah.
But some places that are really well managed, they don't need somebody yelling at them all the time, like a Gordon Ramsay restaurant, for example.
Right.
They hang in there with a new guy. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Well, I hope it works.
Lutece is a good example. Lutece in New York, which had this old chef, and they were also known for their mashed potatoes, whipped. They had it was a very interesting place to eat because it was not what you'd think of as high end gourmet, but it was like for some reason outrageously good. And they had everything. The guys kind of retired, and they left it off to some new guys who actually I thought made it more modern. They changed the menu, they did all these things, then it folded shortly thereafter. They lost their mojo.
Switching gears. Tariffs. Now, was it Pachenik who had told me that Trump was doing this whole thing and bringing everyone together and getting North Korea and the Russians and China and everyone to play ball, and that the ZTE thing was very precarious and Trump had to jump in?
It was Pachenik.
Yeah, it was Pachenik. Here's a report from CNBC. And part of Pachenik's premise was that Xi Jinping is going to have problems in the homeland with this huge middle class he's created if the economy starts to falter. And it seems like there's some rumblings going on, according to the CNBC report.
Well, that same state media editorial said that if the U.S. wants to play hardball, Beijing will too. And in fact, Beijing matched the Trump administration's 25% tariffs on $16 billion worth of goods. Of course, this time American goods. The tariffs are kicking in almost simultaneously with the U.S.'s at 12:01 on August 23rd. Now, the list has been expanded from the original 114 items to 333, and the new list and items include trucks, vehicle engines, bikes, as well as farm equipment. China's Commerce Ministry criticized the U.S., calling the U.S. move unreasonable, and said that the U.S. is showing that it puts domestic law above international law.
Duh.
Now, China's critics would likely find those comments ironic, given that many of Beijing's trading partners, as well as foreign firms, have long been complaining that China itself protects its own markets and also unevenly applies its rules and regulations to the companies here in favor of Chinese firms. As for the state media, it appears as though the state media is trying to prepare the public for a long-haul flight. There's been a 4,000-word commentary that's been running in all the main state papers. It's entitled Declaration. This was initially penned by the official state media, state news agency Xinhua. And the article argues that the Chinese people have endured crises in the past but are resilient and, quote, no storm can prevent Chinese people from pursuing a good life.
Ruh-roh. No, setting them up, preparing them for the worst.
That doesn't sound good.
No. It sounds, in fact, that coming from Chinese state media sounds like there could be stormy weather ahead, and they want to prepare everybody and get some patriotism going there to keep people in the fight. But, I don't know.
That doesn't sound good.
No. My God. What if Pachenik is right?
Well, he could be.
And there was some Bitcoin news that I found rather interesting. I'll just play the report. We can talk about it. It's pretty short.
Well, the company is called Bakkt, B-A-K-K-T, and the hope for crypto enthusiasts is that this startup will help bring digital currencies to the masses. It's backed by the New York Stock Exchange's parent company, ICE, and a slew of other big corporations. To start, Bakkt will provide trading and conversion of Bitcoin versus fiat currencies. But the platform has big goals. It's aiming to become the infrastructure that helps institutionalize digital currencies on a large scale. In addition to ICE, Bakkt is backed by the likes of Microsoft, Boston Consulting Group, and Starbucks. Bakkt could be used to convert Bitcoin and other digital coins into U.S. dollars that can be used at Starbucks stores, which means, yes, you can buy your coffee, or in my case, iced coffee, with crypto. Microsoft is helping with the cloud solutions to create the global ecosystem for digital assets, and some big names in the finance world are also backing the venture, including Fortress, Galaxy Digital, Pantera Capital, and Susquehanna. The platform is expected to launch in November. So let the countdown begin, Michelle.
This is so disappointing. First of all, it's one of the only reports about this that I could really find on anything mainstream. This was still CNBC, marginal mainstream. But they immediately take it to, you can buy your latte with Bitcoin, with crypto. No, that's not what this is about. This is I forget the guy's name. He's an entrepreneur, and he bought the commodities exchange. I think is it ICE? Is that the commodities? The ICE?
I don't know.
He bought it for $1, 15 years ago, and now it's this $44 billion in value flying around that thing. And what he saw the opportunity is to create it's a warehousing solution, so you can treat Bitcoin as a commodity that can be, where you don't have the counterparty risk because that exchange swallows up that risk, no different from any other commodities exchange. And this is brought into play so that institutions can now use Bitcoin specifically as a hedge or as an investment vehicle. 401ks will be able to do it. I think it's rather big news. And not just you can buy your latte at Starbucks. That's not at all what this is about. I'm surprised that it's so low on the radar and misunderstood. Really, I mean this guy's a superstar in business. It's just no traction, except for the Bitcoin people.
I'm always looking for parallels.
Yeah,
we had the Beanie Baby.
Beanie Babies, yeah, which I think still is.
Do you remember?
Good one.
You can still trade Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name of all of them. I do remember the name of the Whoopi Goldberg one, which were these alternate currencies before the 2000 .com crash.
Oh, shoot. I remember that.
Beans was one of them. BEENZ. And then there was a couple other ones that had stupid names just like that.
Flues.
Yes, that's one of them.
I'd forgotten about Flues.
Yeah.
That's right. She got a whole bunch of worthless stock. There was the iVillage guy started that. Flues. It was just a credit system.
And there was Beans, which was another one.
Yeah, Beans.
And I can't think of any others offhand.
I like Flues.
There was a slew of them. And it seems kind of parallel to me. Whatever happened to Beans?
This is the Flues of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's it.
This guy has quite a reputation, so we'll see if he created the Flues.
A lot of people do.
I like your comparison. We were talking about tourism in Europe and how so many countries are just overrun with tourists now. And a lot of this happened in the 2008 financial crisis. Economies were just dying, so they really opened up the floodgates. And my complaint, which was accentuated a couple weeks ago by a report that Amsterdam is out of control. I think the last time I was there, I even said, you can't turn around anymore. You can't physically, just on the street, there's people bumping into you, there's bikes on the sidewalks, it's too busy. And here's a report that corroborates this, which is just kind of fun to listen to what's happening to the beautiful city I once lived in.
Amsterdam is famous for its nightlife, which appeals to adult visitors. But Amsterdam has now become the latest European city after Barcelona, Dubrovnik, and Venice to crack down on mass tourism. Amsterdam has fewer than 1 million residents, but 20 million people visit the city every year. And things get particularly bad at night when young, drunk men go wild in a city where both prostitution and pot are legal.
That is incorrect. It is not legal. It is permitted, but is absolutely not legal.
Joanna Kakissis tells us how Amsterdam is trying to tame the nightlife without killing it. And just a quick warning, this story has some adult themes.
Woo! Imagine trying to sleep to this outside your front door every night.
When they start yelling, when they start puking in your potted plants, that's horrible.
Welcome to Bert Knapp's life. He writes language textbooks for a living, and he and his wife live in a cute house next to a church in Amsterdam's red light district. If you're about to say, well, what did you expect, Mr. Knapp? Don't bother. He's already been told off by drunk guys in Elvis costumes, all British tourists, he says. One he caught peeing in his mailbox.
I went up to one of them and I asked, well, why don't you do that in your own hometown? And he said, you are selling drugs, you are selling prostitution. I buy it. So he literally said, you off because we buy your streets. We are paying for it. And just move. Go live elsewhere.
Bert Knapp has been here for 40 years. In fact, people have lived in the red light district for hundreds of years. The neighborhood's always been a draw for visitors, but now it seems it caters only to tourists. Think cannabis cafes instead of grocery stores, trinket shops with condom key rings instead of places where you can actually get keys made, or the smell of a popular stoner treat replacing the fresh bread in bakeries.
We have streets just selling waffles and Nutella, and people coming here think that's our national food.
Yes, and this went on for quite a while, but it's a shithole there in Amsterdam. It's no good no more. It's kloten. It's just kloten. Yeah, I like it puking in my plants. It's a mess.
I like the peeing in the mailbox. The guy in an Elvis costume, they said.
Yeah, guys in Elvis costume.
There's just some Elvis peeing in your mailbox.
Talk about a nightmare right there. But I told you it was the Brits. You know, the Brits, you can't go.
Oh, yeah, the Brits are out of control.
Well, they can't do it in England anymore because either A, they'll get knifed, which is the main problem. Wait until the Dutch start knifing you. Then you'll calm down because something is going to happen. Something has got to give. When I lived there, it was 2000. It was already impossible. Christina had a bedroom on the canal side, and she would wake up regularly at 3 a.m. with people yelling and puking and just being a nuisance. Way to go, Amsterdam.
Party.
Yeah, party!
Party time!
Woohoo! Wow. Speaking of drugs, and this is something...
I should mention before you say... Well, no, go. Never mind. So,
speaking of drugs, we have a problem. We have a problem with certain vocations in our country, in these United States.
I can't even drive a golf cart. You're my hero. I'm amazed. I got to bring up the one tough question here, and that's the drug question. We all know that a lot of people can't get a truck driver's license because they can't pass drug tests. Have you talked to any of the people there about what they're trying to do to address that? I know it's a delicate subject, but...
You know, and Bob, it's something that also becomes more and more troublesome as marijuana continues to become legalized across the country. So in California, for example, companies are having an even harder time than ever finding people because DOT regulations say you cannot, test positive for marijuana or any type of drug. They'll do hair follicle tests and everything. So as that trend, continues to sweep the nation in terms of legalization for recreational use, that'll just be another layer to this ongoing shortage in the industry.
So I can kind of understand you want to drug test drivers, although it's obviously becoming problematic. But I'm hearing of more and more companies, just, white collar businesses that are instituting random drug testing. And, it's kind of become one of those things. Like, well, it's on the HR menu now. You have to check it off. Everyone has to be drug tested. I think this is a bad idea.
I don't think it's true.
Oh, well,
I've never heard of such a thing.
I can only speak from my own experience. And people here in Austin, 3 different people have companies or organizations that are now implementing random drug testing. Drug testing for all new employees and random drug testing for all employees in general. I'm identifying that maybe it's just Austin, but I'm identifying this as something that's taking place. I'm not even
sure how legal it is. Is it legal?
Well, that was kind of a guess. I don't know. But
I've never heard of this.
Really? I've heard of it, but I hadn't heard of it.
News. I mean, I've heard of drug testing, but this is news to me that they're just doing what you said.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought you got a truck driver's license from the DMV. They don't do drug testing.
No, the companies that employ the truck drivers do the drug testing.
Well, that would be a reasonable thing to do.
Right. But now there's a truck driver shortage. Who knew? All these guys are stoned.
Yeah. I don't know. Most of the truck drivers use Benzedrine or something to stay
awake. Yeah.
Yeah, not to smoke pot so they can listen to the radio.
No, I think they're probably, when they get to the destination, I mean, I can understand that. You've been driving for 8 hours. All right, I'm at the truck stop. I'm going to smoke a doobie and go to sleep. They sleep in the cab.
Yeah. All right.
How were the fires there, John? How are the fires?
Well, I'm in Seattle.
Oh, that's right. You wouldn't know.
The only fires up here are, I should mention a couple of things since I'm up here. There are fires in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island, which is apparently very dry. The other fires, the record breakers, the Mendocino fires, something like, you always say, well, there's 100 acres, 200 acres, 1,000 acres, 425 square miles.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
It's the biggest ever.
Yeah.
And that area that's burning, loaded with pot fields.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I see a price increase in my future.
I think go long if you can, if somebody has stock.
go long. On pot stocks, yeah. That's always a winner.
But that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was mentioning this to you before we started the show, which is that the Seattle airport is packed. Everybody who would normally go touristy in San Francisco, they've all bumped their game up to come up here instead. And it's a nightmare. The airport is incredibly congested.
It's a very small airport, really. It's not a big airport.
Relatively small. It's about the size of the Oakland airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a shade bigger. But it's the wait for the shuttle bus to the car rental facility, because it used to be right there. You just walk across the street and you're at the car rental place. But the TSA ended that. Is about an hour wait to get to the shuttle because his line was around the corner. It was unbelievable.
And this is for vacation?
Yeah. These are all vacationers. A lot of kids. And the line at the Oakland airport to get on the plane, the number of people that had the special boarding for the families with kids.
Yeah.
Which I came up with JC and Jesse.
I bet it was half the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that's interesting, I don't have the exact name. I think it's called Analogic, which actually says anal logic.
Yeah.
They had one of these new pieces of gear at the Oakland airport. They were beta testing.
One of the keep your liquids in your bag gears.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, this is the most futuristic looking device I have ever seen.
It's got cool blue lights. It's got halo lights, like a lowrider.
Like a jet engine.
Yeah,
I've seen the lines of a jet engine with a bunch of halo lights and
nice.
It's beautiful.
And did you put your bags through it?
No, they wouldn't let me. They had that for some group. They wouldn't let me. I asked them specifically, can I go over there in that line? No.
Shut up, slave.
I did have TSA pre, so it was easy enough to get through, but I wanted to go over so I could examine it closer, but no, you can't do it.
Bastards.
So, and here's another one.
Didn't you say I'm a journalist? It's okay?
Yeah, I could have. Here's another one. Everybody, all the TSA people, because I was enthralled with this device. It's beautiful. Every TSA, I said, this thing must have cost a fortune.
Well, we know it costs what, $300,000?
I don't know. That looks, yeah. And I just commenting to the TSA people, as I went through, I said, that thing must have cost a fortune. They go, I don't know. Well, that thing must have cost a fortune. No, they didn't even care. It's just a bunch of grunters. It was unbelievable.
Well, maybe the technology is not so spectacular, and it's a big black box. And
no, they said it was not black. It's a big white box.
No, but I mean, that maybe it really doesn't do anything.
No, they all said that they've worked it. I did get one guy say, yeah, it does a lot more. Right. So apparently it digs like a CAT scan or something. I don't know what it is.
Well, we need another scare then. We need another scare to start sales rolling. We need something.
Yeah, well, they got to test it first. So after they test it, they'll all be installed. It'll make things look a lot better because when you compare it to the shoddy-looking X-ray machines the bags go through now, it's like night and day. I was looking at it. What a piece of junk. It's got the, louvers on it. It's a square. It's made out of sheet metal. It's got nothing going on.
I know. With those slits cut in it for ventilation. Yeah. It's like an old IBM PC.
It's
you could probably still put PCI cards in the back, something like that. Yeah. We got about a couple more minutes. I just have a couple shorties. Maybe you have something short as well.
I do have an ISO of James O'Brien. Somebody sent me a James O'Brien clip where they talk about
James O'Brien? Who's
James O'Brien is the talker on LBC.
Ah, yes, okay.
The British talk show operation, and he is the one that is he's a Remainer, and he's extremely sharp, and he has a kind of a routine he does with everybody that is very insulting. He's sarcastic, and he's a dangerous guy. Even though somebody sent me a link to one of his little interviews that has a lot of Brexit material that we can talk about. I'll put that in the next show. But I do have an ISO of him. Kind of naming the types of people who are Brexiters.
These charlatans, these pantomime toffs, these spivs and these fag packet fascists. What they've done to Britain.
Fag packet? What did he say? Fag packet fascists?
Well, I got charlatan. It sounds like fag bag something.
These charlatans, these pantomime toffs.
Pantomime toffs?
These spivs and these fag packet fascists. What's in these fag packet fascists?
Fag packet fascists. That means packet of cigarettes, but I'm not quite sure how it translates to fascists.
What they've done to Britain.
Nah. I don't know. I think you'll like my ISO more that I selected for the end of the show.
Binge more.
Come on.
Okay.
It's your word.
It really doesn't have it's not conclusive. Is something, yours is better.
Thank you. Let's check in with the latest news from CNN. Golf ball size hail coming from the sky.
Killing people.
Yeah, killing people, killing animals.
A zoo in Colorado Springs will be closed today after a powerful hailstorm killed 2 birds and injured 14 people on Monday. Look at this. Those are chunks of hail. Some the size of softballs there. Look at that. It sent the bears at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo scrambling for cover of their enclosure. More than 3,000 zoo visitors were evacuated to a nearby school. 5 of the injured were taken to the hospital for treatment.
Is it August in Colorado as well?
I believe it is. It has reached August. I just can't believe the size of the water, explosions there from the hail.
That's violent weather. And, some people don't think that climate change is necessarily happening.
No, boo. It's climate change, John.
They've had hail that size in the Midwest for hundreds of years.
Yes, climate change. It's August. It's crazy. It's crazy to have hail in August. We have hail in Texas all the time. And it's bad. People have blankets in their cars. If your car is outside and starts to hail, you want to throw the blankets over your car so it doesn't get dented.
Yeah.
Climate change.
Yeah, we don't have that in California.
Millennials strike again.
Out of Green Hills with this crime tracker alert and the arrest of a 15-year-old and 17-year-old for trying to carjack two separate people.
So the first one happens just before 6:30 Wednesday night. The teens run up to a woman in her car. They open the doors on both sides in the Hill Center parking garage off Hillsborough Pike. Well, she yelled for them to get out of the vehicle. As they attempted to pull her from the car, she screamed and held down her horn, and they ran. Smart stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was an hour later, they approached a woman at the Kroger on 21st Avenue South. They grabbed her keys out of her hand. After a few seconds, they get out of the car and they run away. They couldn't drive a stick shift, the manual transmission.
Damn this vehicle. It has 3 pedals. I don't know how to operate it.
Oh, it's very ironic. Let's see if I got nothing really that's any better than that. So,
well, I just have some depressing news that no one's talking about.
The World Health Organization warns Yemen may be on the brink of a major new cholera epidemic. Lisa Schlein reports from Geneva. The WHO fears this new outbreak may be worse than previous ones because of the weakened condition of the population following more than 3 years of civil war.
Yemen has had 2 major waves of cholera epidemics in recent years. WHO expert Peter Salama says a steady increase in cases over the past weeks suggests Yemen may be on the cusp of a 3rd wave. He says people are at great risk of getting ill because they are severely malnourished.
What we're likely to see is even higher death rates among the cholera cases that do occur because people just don't have the physical resources to fight the disease any longer.
WHO is appealing to the warring parties to stop fighting for 3 days so it can begin an oral cholera vaccination campaign in northern Yemen on Saturday.
It's so sad that journalists are all up in arms about being attacked and fake news, enemy of the people, but they don't really report any news. And this is a serious issue that's going on here. And maybe because they don't want to. Maybe it's because they don't want to have to go into the true history of Yemen and how. I think it was under the Obama administration. We were droning there left and right.
Yeah.
And we have a big hand in this. And it's not the applause kind. It's not the please clap kind of hand.
No.
I'd like to know more about it. But.
Well, you're not going to get it from the news media here.
Nope. And I don't think we have any producers there.
No.
But if they are, let us know. And that's it for our program for today. The 9th of August, 2018. We return on Sunday with another episode. More deconstruction for you. You never know what's going to happen. But we have our eye on different balls. I got Apple in my sights. I'm still very curious. Yeah, indeed.
Yes, well, we got to stay on the Apple thing, see what's going on.
We'll continue to do that as I come to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In FEMA region number 6 on the governmental maps in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from the Silicon Valley Pacific Northwest, the home of Amazon and Microsoft, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday with another episode of the best podcast in the universe. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos.
Now, there it is, the gay bomb. Look it up for yourself. I mean, this is what do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby. And I'm not saying people didn't naturally have homosexual feelings. I'm not even getting into it, quite frankly. I mean, give me a break. You think I am like shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people? I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Serious crap. I'm sick of being social engineered. It's not funny. Me and Alex Jones, we've got a thing going on. Like, how dare you not let us suck your blood? And we know that it's wrong, but it's much too strong to let it go now. You saw me, in bed with Putin, getting peed on or something?
He gets online around the same time, 11 a.m., we're all gonna be there.
I kill my kids.
Outrageous rants expose the globalist plans, hand it all to Paul Joseph Watson. Me and Alex Jones, Alex Jones, Alex Jones, Alex Jones, Alex Jones. We've got a thing going on.
And if that isn't Nazi Germany, I'll kiss your booty.
We did it on the shop. We did it on the shop. We did it on the shop.
The media.
Talking mainly about square titter
every single day.
To the American people's business.
The media. Ever.
Talking mainly about square titter.
The media.
I think if you work out really hard and start to develop muscles while listening to the show, you can just listen to the show and your muscles grow.
It'll just grow. Ooh, yes.
The media.
Talking mainly about square titter.
I don't know about this.
Lots of conversation has been removed. Yes.
We did it on the shop. We did it on the shop.
Talking mainly about square titter.
In the morning.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Binge more